Welcome to RantCast, everybody. The AOS show about everything adjacent to AOS and all the things between. I am Mr. Mephisto, the man with every opinion unlocked in the achievements menu. Joining me tonight, we actually have two special guests. You've both been on the show actually a couple times each, I think, at this point. This might be three and three now, rivaling Hobby Bear himself, Brendan Melnick. So on my left, you've got Moose Geek, Brice. I'm gonna say hello to folks.
Hi everyone. Odin's here too.
Odin the corgi, adorable tricolor, just like my corgi. I've got the Mochi cam up. She's out of it. She's sleeping. She's an old dog. And then rock in the middle there, you've got Andrew Yells. Andrew, how are you doing tonight, man?
It's doing well, very well. I'm reading the Tzeentch book.
Reading the Tzeentch book. You actually were reading it a little bit off stream. Care to share any of your insights, your quick 1 second hot takes on what you're reading so far?
Yeah, I love all of these sub-factions are good. They also love a 42-inch unbind from the command trait. But then you look at these battalions, and if they want you to take other battalions, they should make them not suck, because only Change Host is good.
See, that's the thing. The only
thing... Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to heal D3 Screamers.
You're going to heal D3 Ideneth Deepkin Surfboards, you mean?
My Screamers are going to unbind you.
Man. No, the only thing I care to comment on now, we're still pre FAQ right now. The only thing I care to comment on as far as Tzeentch is I find it odd that most other armies were told, no, you can't do the old thing. And Tzeentch is the one where they're like, yeah, man, just swap out Flamers for your old Skyfires and you're good, dude. Keep playing Change Host.
Nothing ever changes.
In the army called with the Changer of Ways as the leader of it,
yeah, I'm about to sit. I gotta sit with this book because I played the old book over the weekend. So
right. So that'll actually be a nice little transition right in. So tonight we're gonna be talking. Tournaments. We're gonna be talking a lot about Midwest tournaments, past, present, and future.
The best tournaments.
The best.
By the by.
Yeah.
For all the haters out there who don't know.
Right. So Midwest actually I think has. I am very fortunate to just happen to be from the Midwest, live in the Midwest. We've got a lot of great tournaments. We certainly have, just talking enough with the community now. I mean, we could probably, if you tried, go to a tournament a month and not have to drive more than maybe 6 hours, 7 hours. We're really fortunate. Which is where, PACA is, one of the first tournaments that was on my radar. Obviously, Adepticon is, on everyone's radar, but I almost consider that, it takes place around Chicago. I consider that an international tournament. I think most others would agree. Even though it's here, it's I don't really claim it as ours. It's everybody's now.
Yeah.
And PACA was then one of the first on my radar. That was basically the first tournament I would have had the opportunity to go right when I got into AOS, which is sort of November, December area before the LON tome came out, right? Way missed it. Didn't even have a model painted yet. Hell, I barely had some bought. But you start looking oh, these are tournaments I can go to. So PACA was one of the first ones. Fast forward a few years for me. I missed the sort of my second opportunity to go to PACA. Just if you followed the stream for any degree of time, if you'd listened to me, I had a pretty rough mental health patch there. One of those sort of seasonal depression compiled with my general layoff angst, and I just didn't feel like going anywhere. I didn't feel like talking to people. I kind of shut down, and I've been kicking myself for just one entire calendar year since then. So it was my goal this year to make it to PACA. It just so happens that's the last PACA I would ever have the opportunity to go to. This was the last PACA anyone, in fact, would have the opportunity to go to. And it sort of coincided with other goals I have, which is, Osiris Bone Reapers came out, for me personally, Andrew John Vernon Heggie, in October. GW sent me a letter. They're like, hey, dude, we're releasing an army for you. And I'm like, cool, awesome. I hope it's bone related, and Nagash is good in it.
I just got that same letter.
It's crazy. You got that same letter. Yeah, did you? What was your letter about?
Oh, they said you want a guy with really cool pants He's coming.
Oh, it's like, hey Brice, GW, your old bro, G-Dubs here. We made an army just for you, man. Please look forward.
They said, I hear you like pants. I hear you like pointy ears. We got you.
That's great. I love that people are like getting the shit they love in this game. But yeah, my goal that coincided with so Ossiarch Bone Reapers come out. I'm like, you know what? I'm having these guys done for PACA. No question. Like, and it was a delicate dance because I've traditionally been a paint to get it to the table. I had also committed to, hashtag getting good at hobby. So like rushing and being good at hobby aren't two things that really line up. So my solution naturally was to just not sleep for like 10 days and just like paint 14 hours a day for 10 days straight. So if you were watching your Twitter feed at any point in the last 10 days, you just saw me 12-hour paint stream, 12-hour paint stream, 12-hour paint stream. So I was just live with all the hobby hangouts. We had lots of chat gang showing up, helping me out get through a lot of that grind, and I am still not done. I didn't get 5 ponies done for PACA, so I was actually running a list at 1810 instead of at 2K. And I was
than that, right? Because you took that garbage purple sun.
I took 130 points of endless spells that are not in my actual list, not in the list I submitted for list submission, because I knew I couldn't paint the last 10 Mortek Guard. I just knew going into it. I'm like about like, because I had a little like itinerary. I mapped out how much I think I can paint. I like added 50% of the time because I know I suck and I'm slow. So I'm like, okay, I think I can paint like, I can prime everything this day. I can do bases this day. I can get this many painted this day, so on and so forth. And like, I actually mapped it out like that. And for the most part, I kept to that schedule. And then the goddamn Packers ruined my Sunday. I fell behind. And I said on Twitter out loud that if I miss PACA if I miss finishing my army by one day, because I watched that Packer game, I'm going to be very upset. So, I missed, basically if I had painted all day Sunday instead of like a Packer party, I'd have nailed it. I'd have been right there. But I'm not upset. I still went 3-2. I had a great time. I like to think I solidified some relationships with 2 friends I already had. I made 2 new friends, and then I got revenge on an old book that used to give me some hard time when I first started playing Nagash, which is KO. So great weekend for me. But more importantly, it was the achievement for me. This personal goal, this personal, like, it was weird walking into a tournament without any agenda to like win it all or walk away with the trophy or go 3-2 or like I had none of those goals because making it there with the army I dedicated myself to was the goal. And so for me it was just like it was awesome. This was an awesome event. I guess Andrew, I'm going to ask you what you just kind of general. We'll go specifics on your recap in a minute. And then Brice, I want you to give us a little bit of a history lesson of PACA. Maybe you can fill in some of the mysticism that I've surrounded the tournament with some reality.
Well, you had a fine goal. Mine was to win.
And you did win some stuff.
Yes, I won everything I intended to win.
Which maybe we'll come back to that in a minute. But for those of you who may not know or haven't caught some previous RantCasts with Andrew Yells, he's a little bit of a hobby hero. Actually, both of these gentlemen are 2 of my personal hobby heroes, guys I asked advice on things. You sort of
I do 2 things.
Yeah.
You do.
You do two things. What are the 2 things you do, man?
I paint and fuck.
And I'm all out of fuck.
Yes. By the way, the exact words he said, accepting his 2 paint trophies at the event, which was just, man, it was epic. Yeah, man, I know I'm kind of going in circles here, but what a great tournament. To just, like, everybody's got a PACA story when you start going to Midwest tournaments. Everybody, whether it's one of my favorite ones, it's not my story to share, but there's a rule in the pack about where it is appropriate to vomit and how you can lose sports score. Based on one of our great tournament players in the Midwest scene here. But like everyone's got a PACA story, and you're like, I need a PACA story. You're like, I want, and you're just like, so it was just this again. It was this tentpole moment for me. This absolute like major thing that I had to go to before it's gone. Don't despair. There might be some sort of a resurgence, a regeneration, perhaps. I think Brice is going to spend 1 command point and maybe bring it back on a grave site.
He's going to heal D6.
Wholly within 9 inches. Wholly within 9 inches of the grave site, more than 9 inches away from enemies. But we might see it back. But maybe you might know a little bit more about like sort of origins of PACA and why it is this prolific Wisconsin event. You care to take us through a little bit of that, Brice?
Yeah, so I haven't attended it as long as a lot of people have. This would have been my 3rd PACA this year, but in my quest to see if there was a future for PACA, I was able to learn a bit more about it and some of the history and just like the camaraderie. I can't say that word. Say it for me, Andrew.
Camaraderie.
Yes.
Oh, which Andrew?
That's why I did that. So this was the 11th WaaaghPaca, and it cycled between 2 different locations, and we were back at the original location that they first started at. And I always, actually, until this year, thought that it was always Raj who put on this wonderful show, but I learned that it was actually Bear who started the whole thing. Okay. So I think that gets lost in the history books, but no longer. So Bear came up. It's funny hearing him talk about it. He said, I had this really good idea for a terrible pun, and it was WaaaghPaca, and it took me 3 years to actually commit to running the tournament. So Bear started it, and they just wanted to do something to get their friends together, have a good time, and drink a bunch of beer. And I think
you can tell, I think, the joy and the commitment to the pun. I don't know where Bear is from, but I know that Raj is from Stevens Point because I gamed with him when I was 13.
Yep.
So they drove to a separate city outside of 9 inches to do this tournament for the name.
Yeah, I know Bear lived in Eau Claire for a while. I think that they started it when they were in college. And,
dude, I went to college in Eau Claire. That's awesome. That's a little bit. The world's a lot smaller than you think, right? Like, oh yeah. Yes.
So.
No, yeah. So continue. Like, yeah. So they actually like they had the idea for the pun of WaaaghPaca, and so they went to WaaaghPaca to have it. That makes it even better. Like, man. So I guess like one of the hot things, and we're going to go into it a little bit later, but I might as well tease it right now. PACA. This might have been the last PACA, but this is not the last time WaaaghPaca, the city of, is going to see a tournament, is it, Brice?
It is not. Yes.
Okay.
That was, and maybe we saved that for the end of the.
We might have to save it for the end, but like, man, I hope you have a good pun to come up to compete with this, because.
I know I'm not great at puns, so I feel like I'm gonna let the world down with that. You know, I have. For those who know me and know my certain passions for some things, I think that they'll understand the name when it's time to say what that might be.
Right. We'll tease it a little longer. We'll go ahead and this isn't a Tzeentch RantCast, but I think we can edge it.
Yeah, just keep listening.
Just keep listening. All right, we'll give you details on that. Yeah. So you had this history, and like so I got a lot of history. One of my third round opponent was John Wenger, Sir Wenger, the king of PACA, on account of being the I guess the only person who made all 11. Alex missed 1. Oh, shame. But yeah, so Wenger, he was telling me that like he was sort of telling me about like sort of the camaraderie and stuff like that, and in my mind, I have to like remind myself 11 years. That means this started pre AOS. This would have been a Warhammer Fantasy Battle tournament. Did it start out? Do you know dedicated Warhammer Fantasy Battle, or do they have a couple other games?
It was solely dedicated to Warhammer Fantasy for a long time. Okay. And then when AOS happened, they kind of threw in some other stuff and tried to make that work. And actually, one of my favorite memories from WaaaghPaca was 3 years ago. They had a random team tournament.
Okay.
So you brought a 1K list, and there was 30 people or whatever it was in the room, and you got randomly paired and played a doubles game, in three games of that. And that's how I met Steve Herner and got introduced to Holy Wars. And I mean,
you get randomly paired each game.
Yeah, each game you got a new partner. So like if you won, you got paired with someone else who won, and it was just a wacky, weird way to play, but super cool because you know you just get to meet people that way, and you're forced to interact with them. For those who might not be so socially inclined, but I mean that moment really was the moment that kind of set me on the path that I'm on, because you know, I just lost my friend, and I was super reserved, and I got to meet Steve, and just made me feel so much more welcome, and like it was just a great moment. And for that, I will ever be thankful for that WaaaghPaca moment. So yeah, it's just there's so many people who have stories about it too. And I think one thing that they did that was cool was in the beginning, Raj went around the room to each of the clubs that was there and made someone share their favorite story from WaaaghPaca. So people who it was their first time, or people who had been there 9-10 times, all got to hear about the crazy stuff that's happened. And just you can just see, and when people remember things from 10 years ago and have all these great memories, it's like that's gotta be what we're in this for, right? So let's keep it going.
That's right. I don't. Okay, I do remember a lot of my really great wins and some of my great losses, but it's the memories that really have lasted. You know, my relative short compared to everybody else's AOS sort of tournament career. It's been the memories that like I walk away from these tournaments, and it just seemed like, I mean, 11 years, that's a lot of memories just piling up. And I have to say, I can't talk to the previous venues, but I actually really enjoyed this venue. It was a little wonky that like the gaming hall was detached from the main hotel, but like it was just a walk away, you know, like a short jaunt,
like crossing a driveway.
Yeah, you cross a driveway, like, so it wasn't like that far, and I didn't mind that. But man, I've never slept as well as I did in that hotel, so I don't know if that had something to do with I'm an insomniac. I went to bed Saturday night, and I don't know if it was all the painting catching up with me, or like I was sleeping like a baby because I knew I was on Ulgu tomorrow morning, and I had a Umbral Spell Portal with me, like, which is just like, oh, like if you ever want to sleep, don't count sheep. Just know that you're going to be playing in Ulgu with an Umbral Spell Portal and Hand of Dust, and you're just gonna just best sleep, best insomnia cure ever. Like I don't know. I went to sleep. I was out. Woke up at 6 a.m. and I felt like an adult. I got coffee before all the kids came in because I guess there was like a hockey game or something. And then like people slowly filtered in. Like it was just like, man, again, like that there were even games going on was just like this bonus. It was just, it was everything I wanted. Everything I needed was this sort of deep exhale moment of Age of Sigmar before we ramp into this huge tournament season. So, I guess with that, anything to add to the history of the PACA, the lineage, the memories? Like I said, I think everyone's got their own stories, and I think we'll get to have yet another chapter in this story, in this novel, that is the tournament scene in the sleepy little town of WaaaghPaca, Wisconsin. But more on that later. Anything else to add to it?
No, I think that's, you know, that sells the whole event, right? Just a weekend of fun and activities in a town that has not much else to offer. Right. And it is a town of one Taco Bell, which we discovered. Yeah. So Andrew, why don't you take me through your PACA experience? Is this your first one, or have you been to ones before?
I went to PACA last year with Hey Whoa.
Yeah, this is the one I backed out of like a coward.
Yeah, we just went in at the last minute. It was a good time. He had stayed up all night making a display board and objectives because he didn't do that. Mm-hmm. It was a choice. So we didn't sleep all night, and that was a good time. So this year he slept well, and you kind of took up that mantle of painting all night and whatnot.
Right.
So
Nope.
we rolled in Friday night. We came to pick you up from Sheboygan, and the weather was horrible. It took us to get there from Madison, Wisconsin. Took us, what was it, 5 hours? We left around 6. Finally got to bed at 11.
If I may, I feel like the weather's part of the experience. I feel like you're lying to people when you go to like sorry, Hobbybear, I see you there in chat, but when you go to Brew City, you're getting sold a little bit of a fabrication of what Wisconsin is like. Like I just oh Lord, I hate the weather. I love it. I love the driving through the snow and then you go outside and there's just like snow everywhere. My favorite 2 seasons are fall and winter, by the way. So I'm a weirdo.
Somebody else is driving. It's fine.
But like, if somebody else is driving, I mean, by all means, be safe, and safety is certainly a concern. But when you step outside, and you're holding your display board, and you look around, and there's just like snow everywhere. You breathe in deep. You're like, I'm about to go protect the wall, like baby, like bring on the White Walkers, and then like you go and push tiny men around on a table. It has this epic feel to it for me. Maybe it doesn't for everybody else. In
chat, and they're all Southerners to them.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I liked the weather, and it was like the snow getting there was a real problem. I know we had a couple incidents with some folks, and I know they're fine now, and I hope that there's long-term fine too. But like, once we were there, it was just like it was pristine and clear and just like perfect little sheet of snow, like couple like 6 inches or more of snow on the ground, and then it was just winter, and you're gaming. It also feels like a nice little like kickoff to the tournament season too, like with you're nestled right in kind of the beginning month.
And I went up with well, he didn't come with us, but one of my friends since we were 13 years old, who we played Warhammer back when we were 13. Mike came up for his first tournament, and he was concerned about playing tournament games and getting his skellies moved in a timely manner. So he was practicing and timing his deployments this previous week so he could make sure he could give everybody a good game. And he just had a blast. So he came up too, and his folks live in WaaaghPaca now. We both grew up at Stevens Point. So we were about 20 minutes out from Stevens Point probably. So his folks live out there, so I get to stay with them and catch up with them. And it was just all real cozy. So that was our Friday night rolling up. And then we came in Saturday morning, saw everybody. The hotel was packed. Everybody's in there chatting with each other.
Yeah. It was like, I remember just like getting hug fatigue from hugging. Like everyone in that room is somebody I knew from all the tournaments, or like people I like knew of that I was like, I would go on to like, like Wenger, I'd seen him around. Like you see the NWO shirts everywhere. And then it's like, oh, okay, you're that one. Like I've talked to on Twitter, and like, okay, cool, yeah, now I know. And like being able to like, you get a lot of that in a lot of the tournaments, but like a couple of these like Wisconsin dedicated ones are really like the ones where I'm like, oh yeah, I literally know everybody here, and that's kind of cool for me. But part of the Wisconsin trope is that like we're really nice and
yeah.
Well,
and the tournament is also weighted heavily towards sports and paint.
Yes.
So nobody's coming in trying to be whack, trying to be a dick.
Except for you. You freaking cheater. So
pack, man. Painting at all costs.
Painting at all costs. No, you
My
had
marriage. Oh, it's shot.
Painting. No, you came in with Tzeentch. This is a project you actually started a little bit before.
Old Tzeentch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started around December.
Yeah. And you were kicking around the idea, I think, as early as November. I know we'd had maybe one conversation about it or a little bit after.
Yeah, I had the models assembled and primed, and I had played when I lived with Joe and just like Tzeentch Immortals and stuff.
Right. No, so yeah, you had Tzeentch ready to go, ready to be to finally become a filth player and give into your dark side.
Yeah.
But Paca was using their cutoff was before the Tzeentch book and stuff like that. So we didn't get into like new Tzeentch, new change host. It was old Tzeentch. But you still found a way to cheat anyway, which is play your Umbral Spell Portal wrong all weekend. I
don't know how this happened. So I don't know why everybody laughs. So I don't know why it took 5 opponents. I got to game 5 before I was informed I was cheating.
My favorite response was when you went up and told Butcher and said, "Oh, I cheated the whole time, man." And he's like, "Yeah, are you just trying to make me feel worse or be more of a dick?"
Oh gosh, yeah. So I didn't know you didn't know it was changed. Like, it was like one of the first AOS, like AOS 2.0 came out. Six Nations tournament came out, and it was just like all the pro players, or like pro and master level players.
I'm not gonna blame Rules Bloat or anything. I just missed it. And
no, it was
so I got all my FAQs, and I typed up all the FAQs, and I did it before the new book because I thought the FAQs might disappear. So I typed everything up because I know Tzeentch you gotta like search for. And I got all my war scrolls, got all the old war scrolls all ready, and then you're like, no, dude, of course you can't put 2 spells through the Umbral spell portal. You couldn't do that like 2 years ago. And for some reason, I didn't ever know this. I'd never played with it before.
Well, like,
so
you asked me a question about it, and I thought you were talking about the predatory spell interaction. Because, so this predatory spell, if it ends its movement within the Umbral spell portal, I think it's 12 inches, it's going to bounce to the other side of the spell portal, but then it gets set up on the other side and doesn't move to trigger any of the effects that need you to move with it. So, like, I thought that's what you were asking me about, like, Umbral spell portal. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, like, no, it doesn't work that way. I had no idea that, like, multiple spells was just, like, for me, it was just, like, it was always changed that way. Like, we had this one short window, Nagash players and, like, I guess Seraphon abused it, too. We had this one brief window where we were just, like, whipping 8 spells a turn through the spell portal. And then, like, immediately the first FAQ that season was like, no, you can't do this anymore. So I had, like, no idea. And, of course, it's buried in the malign Spellportants FAQs, not Army, GHB, like, none of that stuff. Like, it's...
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, here's my list my list writing hand, far removed from the pulse of the community, apparently.
So yeah, you had 5 games. Do you remember your first round opponent?
Yeah.
The first person you cheated out of a win?
Blake Sowie. This was cool because his wife used to ride horse with my sister-in-law, so we figured that out because he was from Viroqua, Wisconsin. Or he's in La Crosse. She was from Viroqua. So we got to chatting a bit. He was on Khorne. I'm on Tzeentch. So my list was old school. Let's see, old school change host. 3 horrors, or 3 pink horrors, 3 brimstone horrors, Gaunt Summoner, Lord of Change, Blue Scribes. That's it. And a shitload of endless spells.
Right.
Purple Sun, Darkfire Demon, Reft, Geminids, Ravenix Gnashing Jaws, Umbral Spell Portal, R.I.P. And one more, Pendulum.
Yeah, you had the filthy Daemon Rift. Yeah.
So anyway, I start blasting. I'm just whipping endless spells every direction. More than one through the spell portal, I'm sorry to say, but no idea. My opponent's like, oh, cool, man, that's pretty good. And so then, yeah, the Purple Sun, man.
Yeah.
Fucking thing sucks.
See, we have 2 different...
Let me jump ahead to game 5, and I will tell you my running total for the tournament. I rolled 110 dice attempting to slay individual models with the Purple Sun.
Okay.
And I killed 10 models over the tournament with that.
See,
7 of which were in the final game.
I think I rolled it over a total of like 60 models, and I killed like 20.
Oh, God. I hate that thing.
That's the thing, is like you like Purple Sun. Here's our first rabbit hole, I think, of the day. Purple Sun is a main deck sideboard, if that makes sense. It's not a spell you want in every list. If you're allowed sideboard points, it's one of those things you throw in the sideboard of every list. If you have a spellcaster that can reliably land that 8. Because it's not good until it's great. When you end up fighting like Fire Slayers or even like Orcs, you're like, okay, yeah, let's go. if you fight Gits, where you're just gonna suffer through those like penalties to hit them, and you might as well just smash it into a carpet of them, then it's really cool. All of those situations, it's just useless. And the blowback factor is usually pretty threatening for yourself, because you're always going to do that thing where you like crash it into 30 of their models, kill 2 of them, and it's going to bounce back on you. And it's
in this
kill
particular
6 of them.
iteration of Tzeentch, you want your stuff to die anyway, because then you can get project power in other places on the board with your blue horror summoning.
Right. So yeah, like Purple Sun, again, it's one of those spells that like, it's awesome. And that's why, like, I've said, every time I've cast it, it's been like whipping a hand grenade. I've had a blast. But I don't cast it every game. I cast it twice all weekend.
Yeah.
5 games, I cast it twice. And it just sat on my sideboard most of it.
Yeah.
The last time I took it to a tournament was like NashCon. I think I cast it twice at NashCon. Again, it's not the sort of thing you want in every list, but when you do get the opportunity to cast it, it's in the right situation.
I just put it in the middle of the board to block a route. It was good for blocking. So I used it in that game for blocking. Failed to kill a bunch of Blood Warriors. Failed to kill a bunch of Wrathmongers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he put his he had a flying Blood Secretor banner, and he put him in the middle. There was a giant towering rock in the middle, and he flew to the top of it and planted the banner. And I had to re-roll everything. It was horrible. And the skulls were wrecking me too. And I killed a bunch of stuff. He came in. He kept killing me on my points. I used Mirror Pool with the Gaunt Summoner, and then started summoning a new army on the other side. He got to my Gaunt Summoner. He killed it. I thought it was over, but I just squeaked it out at the end with that one.
So
with a bunch of summons at the end, and swamped an objective.
So if you weren't like cheating with your spell portal, do you think you would have lost that game?
No, I don't think so.
So that was game 1. What was game 2 like?
I would have just summoned a couple of spells slightly closer and blocked the way, and killed a little bit less. So, so game 2. Then I was up against Flesh Eater Courts, and then this was Brice saw me in this situation. So I don't eat breakfast. I fast every day, and so I usually eat around 11:30 at my job. And so it was coming up on noon, so I ordered my food at like 12:10, and food did not arrive until after the round started. So Brice was kind enough to stay there and bring the food from the bar to me, which was much appreciated. Thank you, Brice. So I like ran in, I found my opponent. We were like 2 minutes. I was like, dude, I'm still waiting on my food. I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to push it back. And he was like, no, it's totally fine. And I was like, waiting on the food. I was like, I'm sorry to my opponent. I'm going to be super crabby right now because I haven't eaten in 20 hours.
Man. This actually like goes into one of the things we talked about, like both with Chuck Moore when he was on RantCast and Dr. Alex Milonis when he was on for fitness, physical health, and mental health with Sigmar. Habits that you have outside of a tournament scene or away from the game, you actually want to kind of maintain those habits. If you wake up at 6 a.m. every morning and like slam a cup of coffee, you should do that at a tournament.
Sure.
Any of those things that you have that are like good habits for getting you in a good mental health state or physical health state. They're linked, everybody. Those are things you want to keep doing. So if you fast, like you say, of course you were being a dick to your opponent. So welcome to that whack lifestyle. No. Real quick though, Brice. It should be. I'm not sure if we laid this out. Brice wasn't actually playing at WaaaghPaca. He was helping at WaaaghPaca. You were, I guess, real quick while we're on this tangent. What was your kind of role? What were you doing there?
I was learning everything about Paca.
Learning everything about Paca from the inside.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I knew that Raj was, for the last few years, Raj has, it gone back and forth on if he should do it anymore, and not super familiar with the rules. So I wanted to just be there for him to help answer questions, make sure he knew the right things to say, the missions to pick, the realms to pick, things like that. So I knew it was important that he had someone like that, so I was more than happy to do that.
Right on. And that, of course, helps us for dun dun dun, the thing we'll talk about a little bit later. All right, so your second round opponent, you get cranky with it because you haven't eaten.
I played against Rob, and He like didn't bat an eyelash when I told him that. He was like, "Take your time." He like didn't care. He was.
He's
totally
like,
cool.
This is gonna be over quick.
I was like, I want you to have a good game. He was like, "Dude, don't worry about it at all." And he had flesh eater courts. Everything was flying. He had only crypt flayers, I think they're called, the flying ones nobody takes. And let me tell you, endless spells not so good against those, because you need to wipe out the whole unit, otherwise all those gargoyles come back. So
was he on Dead Watch? Was he on Dead Watch?
I can't remember if he had a battalion or not. I think so.
Dead Watch is sweet. I love Dead Watch. Continue.
So anyway, I start blasting. And I'm blasting with all my endless spells, but I'm only killing, like, I killed a hero. I did, like, probably 50 or 60 mortal wounds to everything, but I only, like, finished off a hero. And so I sent the Demon Rift up the board, and then he heals up some of those units of gargoyles, and then summons a new hero, and then my Darkfire Demon Rift just starts chasing his general into the corner. That was pretty silly. It's floating chaos that is just like blasting him down the corner. But then he just had everything right back, so then he just and charged everything in a line. So he's here, and this was the short deployment.
So this is great for
so
audio.
He only had a 4-foot distance to cover, and he had that pretty much neck and neck, like base to base covered with just those flares straight across, so I could not get out. And then he just slowly started to kill everything like this. Meanwhile, I summoned up infinite blue horror points, and he's just getting closer to my objectives. And Scorched Earth, he starts burning the front too, and he's just getting closer and closer.
So he's working across the backboard line.
Yeah, and I can't kill anything because I can't ever kill a whole unit, even if you roll 6s on all of your D6 endless spell blasts, and even if your Lord of Change gets hot fire on both his spells, and it just wasn't happening. So then I went for a Hail Mary. I needed a double turn, so I waited till I had a whole shitload of blue horror points, and I auto-ran the Gaunt Summoner 6 for 22 inches, flew over everything, and summoned an entire new army. I think I summoned 5 units of blue horrors on the other side, but I was like just out of all the objectives with the ranges. And then I needed the turn, and I didn't get the turn, so I lost that game. And then because he just turned around and charged, I was like, all right, we should put the hand out, because he was just going to charge everything and kill them all. But I think I still needed to roll at least. I was going to go burn all his objectives. I needed to roll at least 2 3s.
Right.
And the rest 2s to tie it up.
So you take an L, and cheating with Spell Portal isn't a problem then?
No. In fact, if I hadn't been, it probably would have been a little bit better for me. But I don't know, maybe then his dragon would have been more in the game. So it's hard to say. That was a little too dynamic.
Well, there's...
Because all the spells were over there, and then he was so fast, he ran away. And then they're all out there.
Yeah.
So you can't put all your endless spells too far away from yourself. And he's just like moving. When it's his turn to move it, it's just like as far away as possible, so he can never get it. Yeah. So, I mean, he'll never run that many endless spells again, but it was a learning experience. So I was like, sitting there, I'm like,
Well, you won't have to. You have your new book now. You won't have to run that many endless spells.
No, but it was a fun time anyway. So I did that second game. And then third game I played against somebody who I chatted with before, Zach Lambie. And he's from Milwaukee.
He's great people. And he was on the Gotrek challenge.
It was a lot of fun.
Darren Watson's Gotrek challenge.
So you can see here his list. So on my tournament die, I have them write down what their list is. And so this is round 3. You sign your name and write your list. And he wrote Gotrek plus Stormcast, not Stormcast with Gotrek.
No, this is.
So he knew where the army's power was. Zach's good. I like Zach, and he used to hang out at Battle Brothers. And Mike, my friend who came with us, lives like a block away from Battle Brothers. So Battle Brothers is a good place in Milwaukee. You should go there if you ever can. But Zach goes there sometimes. And so we were playing that. He had the shoot cast. He had 9 long strikes, 3 Aether Wings, 3 Aether Wings. I think the third 3 Aether Wings. Then 3 of the other shoot guys with the fast crossbows that shoot a bunch of shots. And then he had 5 Liberators, a Knight Incanter, and a Gotrek. And, and a Relictor with Translocation.
So most
So
importantly,
anyway, I start blasting.
So you started blasting. Well,
I start blasting.
We do have a lot to get through, so maybe the annotated version of this one. What were the highlights of this matchup?
So Gotrek, oh man, it was one with like 18-inch deployment, and Gotrek was gonna get in. He just was. He was just gonna take an auto run and get in 10, and then be in there in 2 turns. So I was trying to slow him down. I blasted off a bunch of the 9 long strikes. He failed every prayer roll for translocation, so that was pretty good for me. Oh yeah, he had Errant Quester, the Night Quester, who was there, and he named him Felix, so he was protecting Gotrek too. And he was like, "You know what this does?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I get it. Are you sure?" And I was like, "I get it." He's like, "I can explain it to you if you." I was like, "Nope, it's very clever. I like it. It's good. I get it." So I just decided never to try and kill Gotrek. But you may have seen on Twitter a picture of what I did do to Gotrek.
With the endless spells.
I put him in a cage, baby. I put him in a cage. I surrounded him. I summoned Darkfire Demon Rift and a Purple Sun and a Ravenix Gnashing Jaws in a triangle around him, and he was stuck inside of there. I was like, "Oh man, he's gonna be mad," and he's like, "Oh, it's pretty good." And I was like, "Why are you not mad?" And I was like 3 years deep in this game, and I was like, "Oh yeah, because he's just gonna move it and get out next turn." I thought I was like just shutting him down. And I was like, "Oh shit, no, he's gonna get out." So anyway, he got out, and I started blasting, and he just killed everything on my objective. And then, so then there was a turn 5 priority again that if I had won, that I was a little harder than that, but he was like super scared that I was going to win. But he won the priority, and then there was this other dude, like a single unit of a Liberator or something, behind a rock.
Round 3 was knife to the heart too.
Yeah, knife to the heart.
So like
Gotrek
is just gonna like smash.
Oh yeah, he's on my objective.
And as long as he has like an escort with him that he can keep alive, right? He's just gonna he has inevitability.
Yeah. So he's just had Brimstones and Blue Scribes to kill on my objective. And if I had won that turn, I could have summoned more Blue Horrors on it. But then apparently, I didn't even know this. I was 3 beers deep, and so there was a dude behind a rock, and I didn't see him. So he comes in and kills everything, and he's like, "I got 2 models here." Even though I had put I made it so he had to attack one of the 2 units with Gotrek and couldn't get both of them on the objective. Mm-hmm. Like he would be too far for his second pile in, so then it would be 1-1, and he wouldn't be able to win. Mm-hmm. But apparently there was a dude sitting behind a rock there, so he just won.
Fun. No, that sounds awesome. So then,
fucking guy.
So that's the end of day 1. How was your day 1, Brice, as the sort of captain in training?
It was great. My favorite thing about like being in the TO position or helping out with TO is just getting to see the joy that people are having. You know, like the top table stuff, and when you're playing, you're like deep in your game, but when you can just walk by and see people that are super excited about these crazy little things that happen. There was a guy whose whole mission in the game was to run one of his dwarf heroes all the way up this huge piece of terrain around the top of it, and just little stuff like that like you don't even realize is going to happen, but getting to see it and get all the stories about it and stuff like that the whole weekend is pretty awesome.
Do you
and hearing Domus yell,
"Oh, hey, no! Oh, damn it! He spoiled it. That was day 2.
Oh, he was doing it day 1, man.
Oh, was it? Was it day 1? Yeah. Suck my dick! Like just Domus shouting across the room. Oh man, that was certainly a highlight. I want to get shirts made up that just suck my dick, Domus,
with his face on it.
2020, and just like I might have to give him some money for likeness rights or something. We'll see. I'll talk to him. Yeah. I'll have my people talk to his people. We'll get a Domus suck my dick shirt going. Man, he was a blast all weekend too. Some of like the best feature moments I think involved Domus doing Domus stuff. What did I guess do you have like a highlight story from day 1, Brice? From your perspective. I mean, I tried to photobomb you every time I saw you come around with the camera, and I failed a couple times. Yeah. I was really mad. It's like, damn it!
It really was just getting, because you know, like, and I talked about it when I was on the podcast with Brendan, and like, you know, sometimes you get caught up in the moment and you don't get to see people or talk to people, and you know, you talk to the 5 or 6 people that you're there with, but I got to talk to all 90 people that were there and like have full conversations with multiple people that there's no way I would have had the chance to do if I were playing. So I think that's super rewarding for me, and that would definitely be the highlight, I think, of the whole weekend, not just the day. But
yeah, that's one thing I've kind of observed with tournaments is you always walk away from the going, God, I didn't get enough time to talk to this person or that person. You kind of end up in this like sort of a rotation of when your games get done versus who you're there with and who's done with their games at a certain time, and like those are kind of the people you end up talking to, and then it's just you're just kind of at the whim of the tables, you know. Yeah, and I don't even really talk to like my people next to me at the tables when I'm playing, because you don't want to like distract them from their game, and you don't want them to not like get in all their turns and stuff. So it's like you're just at your table. So day 2, I get my day. I played Ossiarch Bone Reapers with Nagash. Down some points because I didn't finish the ponies, but feeling really pleased with like all my Mortek Guard, which I did get done. The cool little glow effects and stuff. I had to. I played. I ended the day 2-1. Playing against round 1 was a grudge match, Born of Chat Gang actually. So I got to play Alex Langer from Minnesota against his IDK. He got the alpha off turn 1, but like it just like he got one unit of eels, didn't get in miraculously. Well, that unit of eels was coming up the middle of the table, and that one didn't quite get in. It had to make a real charge, and then the other one came off the side, and that one did get in, but like just. He saved the mortal wounds, and then he didn't just do as much damage off the charge as he was kind of supposed to. And once eels get stuck in, you're just like, you know, this is gonna be a while type thing. So there's just like a wussy slap fight down over there for a little bit. Yeah. So that was game 1. His I'd say like if his dice went a little bit better. I mean, I was sweating bullets turns 1 and 2, and then I won the double into 2-3, and then I'm like, okay, I've got this type thing. But yeah, he played it. I talked to him after the game. I'm like, this is how you play that. Like, this is how you drafted the battle. Like, with that battle plan and my deployment, this is how you draft it up. I said the only thing I'd have done different maybe is bring a little bit more support to this alpha here, because you know you need to kill this. And if you don't, I would rather be like overkilling it than barely killing it. And like, if you had done that, then you're just gonna able to like collapse the tides down in on me. And yeah, like. I won the double going into like high tide basically, and it just because I had such control over the table, it was like, yeah, fine, oh yeah, activate all your combats first, right? So that was kind of bad beats for him. Game 2 was against John. That one was a blender. Absolutely my favorite game of the weekend. It was like I had the same type of game with Zach Cachetta too on day 2. I always say, like, you know it's a good game when you, like, step back from the table and you realize that, like, your model's just rotated around in a circle, in, like, a spiral. Because you're actually, like, chasing the objectives and, like, kind of positioning around and posturing. Like, you always know you had a good game when, like, the table just spirals sideways. You know, yeah. Like, I deployed this way, and all my shit just shifted, and we just all ended up on opposite sides of the table spiraling around each other. That's what you know was a good game, and we had one of those games. But that was Scorched Earth was round 2. He was on. What was really cool about it is he was on Calibron Snacks. Like, so he was on Daughters of Cain, but all of the snakes, and Calibron with 1 unit of canaries. Now, like, normally you might go, oh, Hagnar's the best, but like on Scorched Earth against somebody with no quote unquote keep back power, the way Ossiarch Bone Reapers like don't have like really like good keep back units. And not enough coverage to cover 4 objectives, while also trying to pressure 4 objectives. Like, it is exactly what you want to like play against me. So he, you know, I know that he's going to teleport one unit a turn, and that he's got canaries that can come down at any point. I leave like something uncovered, and then he just flips the objective, and you know, and it's over for me. So I decided to cover the 2 middle objectives with a big 20 block, and then sort of bait something over here on the right side of the table, and then go ham. I was going to go up the left side, just turn right, and keep going like a monster truck, right? And I knew... I looked at him. We both deployed. I gave him first turn. He just shimmied a little bit and said, go. And then I went. And then I, like, shimmied a little bit and said, go. And then I looked at him after doing this, and I'm like... Oh, we're playing a real game of Warhammer. Like, I just, like, because we were both, you know, you can't flip and burn the objectives until the next turn. Like, you know, neither of us getting, like, super aggro early on, just kind of repositioning slightly. I got Nagash into motion because you have to get him into motion a turn early. But other than that, we just kind of shifted around and, you know, set our screens and prepared for the jump turn and to fight. And I just looked at him and I'm like, this is a real game of Age of Sigmar. Okay, this is what we're doing here. It was a great game. I ended up losing it. It was like 12-15, but he had a objective in his pocket to flip and burn that I didn't have. So it was like, looked closer on paper than what it was. At one point, like, he wins the priority roll, and I'm like, I think we had like 30 minutes left in the round. We had enough to, like, kind of get through 2 turns, but I looked at him and I'm like, I think we both know how this is going to go. I mean, I have to have a lot break my way on these 3 objectives right here. And I don't see that happening. Like, I'm just gonna, like, you know, like, grab you a beer and, you know, call it a week or call it a game type thing. But it was really, it was an awesome game. My favorite part was I got Nagash into his deployment, right? And so I'm ready to start execute plan. Nagash is a monster truck, right? And so I get him into his deployment, and I'm about to capture and flip the first objective because he's got, like, nothing. And I, like, quick go to, like, move Nagash or whatever. And he's like, and he points down, and I'm like, that Hag Queen's within 3 inches, isn't she? And he's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, you didn't activate her. And he's like, oh, I did. I just, like, moved her a little bit. I'm like, yeah. I mean, a genius move. Like, he just locked me in combat for, like, just with that 3 inches. And I'm like, if I'm not locked there, I move, I flip it, and then on that same turn, I'm able to move to the next one. And take 2, and basically take 2, right? Because Nagash had, like, a small escort. And I'm like, if that's not there, like... So what ended up happening instead is I had to pile around her, like, pile sideways, flip the one objective, and then waste time on her, and then move on, and then next turn I would be moving on to the next objective. And I was just like, curses! Hag Queen! But it was a great move. It was a great move, and I just, like, it was one of those, like, awesome. You know, those moments where you're like, I see. We played a real game of Age of Sigmar with some really tactical plans. A lot of fun to be had. Good banter. That's when I learned that he was actually Sir Wenger. He is the king of PACA, having attended all 11 of them. If I had my horses, it would have... yeah, well, chat gang giving me some hard time here over my pronunciation of Nagash. But, yeah, it was a great game. Round 3 was then Knife to the Heart. It was against KO, against Mr. Fensky. It was a Knife to the Heart game. Knife to the Heart's not really one of my favorite battle plans because I tend to play attrition armies. And, like, you would think that we would really like Knife to the Heart as attrition armies, but, like, we actually don't. We hate it. We know that we can win the minor kind of for free, but the minor doesn't win you tournaments usually, right? And so it's like you kind of hate those battle plans. But I actually went aggressive for the really aggressive for the majority, and Nagash was just like fucking throwing his weight around. Protection of Nagash, by the way, really good. I don't know if you know this. Yeah, yeah, the meme, super good. Loved it. Every time he'd shoot at some point he realized that just shooting Nagash was only helping me. Because he'd just, like, shoot me, and I'm like, okay, end of shooting phase after wounds have been allocated. Went, like, now he's over here. Like, it was just, like, it was a lot of fun. But basically that was the game, is me teleporting Nagash around the map, trying to, like, get an angle to get in on his objective all game long. And by the end of it, I couldn't quite uproot him, but I killed way more than he killed a mine. And so, you know, pretty much a auto miner, which is the thing I try not to play for. You know, stupid knife to the heart again. Like,
Yeah,
count up the
okay,
number of times I have minor victories on knife to the heart. I think it's all of them. I think every time I played knife to the heart, it's been a minor. So yeah, I tried going aggressive though. If I had 5 horses, do I get there a little bit better? Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. It's like my deployment would change so much every single game. It's not worth calculating how much different those games would have been, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, you know, it's just like the deployments are so different. So then, yeah, my favorite memory from day one was probably, it's twofold. It was getting to like play against Alex, because he's one of the chat gang. He's in here all the time, and to like be able to like play somebody in my own little like micro community that's beginning to form since I've been a content creator was like really cool. Of course, the pressure's on to like, oh no, I talk about Age of Sigmar all the time. Like I better prove that I know what I'm talking about. So that was fun. But I put my imposter syndrome to bed for a little bit, and then actually meeting Wenger and kind of hearing the history of Paca a little bit from him, like firsthand while we played a pretty great game was really cool. It was really cool because he's been there the whole time. So we were just like another one of those games where we're playing like a super tactical, pretty tight game, but then we just had a conversation, and those are so often my favorite games is when you're just having a conversation, and Age of Sigmar just happens to be the focal point of the conversation. So that was really good. And then we go into day 2. Like I said before at the sort of front of the show, I slept like a baby that night. I was not nearly as social as I wanted to be, so I was like a little upset about it. But like I was tired. I went to bed. All of the painting caught up with me, and
oh yeah, I was exhausted that night.
I would have tossed and turned normally, but I knew I had Ulgu with Umbral Spell Portal tomorrow, so I was like,
oh yeah, so did I. You could throw 100 in the spells through it.
Yeah, and you can put it anywhere on the table because Ulgu. Yeah. So day 2, yeah, I actually play Dave Whiteick, and this is something I must talk about because everybody knows that we here at RantCast hate GarageHammer. It's canon. The same. we hate hobbyists. We hate Harry Potter. I think we hate Star Wars. There's. If you're new to the RantCast brand, there's various rolling jokes, and this is one of them. One of them is that we hate GarageHammer. So it was actually like this was a grudge of grudges on day 2, and it's a joke. That's the joke. Oh man, don't at me. No, the joke is it was just some comments going on in chat like hating GarageHammer or whatever. But no, so I got to play Dave. This is actually the second time I played Dave. The first time was at Adepticon in doubles. He had a friend over from England that he was playing with. Kind of a chill but like a muted game. It was like kind of like the calm before the storm on Adepticon. You know how those like pre-tournaments can go, right? So it was like the calm before the storm. He had a really occupied weekend with like selling bits and stuff. So like we didn't really get into it too much of a conversation beyond the like cursory just getting to know each other. So by this time we already have a rapport, and we just jump into the game. And I think we're putting on a podcaster's AOS musical at this point because over the course of playing this game, we were like singing songs, and all the moves or all the like movements we made on the table had their own little like jingles to go along with it. We decided he was on Night Haunt. This is Place of Arcane Power. I don't know if you know anything about Nagash and Places of Arcane Power, but like he kind of wins it really hard. It's like the one thing he does, and so like I outdrop him.
To Marathi.
Well, I'll fight her any day in Places of Arcane Power. That's what Hand of Dust, especially in Ulgu. Bring it on. Like, I'm going to set the door next to you and take you. Basically, whoever goes first wins that is really what it comes down to. Nagash jumps into the center with the 3-inch movement from Ossiarch Bone Reapers. He has 12-inch flying. That puts him right on the center objective with an aggressive deployment. I outdrop him. I go aggressive. I'm Petragash. I know he can't kill me with a bunch of spooky ghosts. So I take that. We're also in Ulgu, so I'm able to bridge. So I have my Bone Shaper bridge out his unit of 20 20 more tech guard out in front of him, and then he runs up behind them. So he's on 8 inches of movement from that. Plus I roll a 6 on the run charge just organically to land him right on the bottom objective, and we're going to play a 2-point strategy because it's the only strategy I have available to. Around turn 3, you know it's over. I'm not uprooted on 3 objectives, and he can't catch up, essentially, right? So I've scored every turn. He takes the top objective. But what really was awesome was he was on Night Haunt with Reikoner, and I'm running Nagash in Ossiarch Bone Reapers. And so we made up this little mini narrative that, like, Olander had kind of fucked off and left the Night Haunt to go be in Legions of Grief and join up with Nagash. And so now like Reikoner is mad at Nagash, and that's why they were fighting. And this is the AOS the musical. So like, of course, you'd have like power ballads and sonnets, like you know, like Nagash is like, I am evil, this is my land, fuck you. You know, we were just singing the whole time, and like Reikoner was like, how dare you take my queen? And it was a riot, man. It was a riot. So it was just it was a crazy game. I blame Paca. I blame you specifically, Brice, for saying anyone at 10 points or less, you really don't have a shot. So like, at that point, it was like I'm here to like drink beer and throw dice, and I'm all out of dice. So I actually didn't really drink on day 2, but it was just like my mentality completely changed on day 2 because I'm like, oh, I can't even possibly like hope to even be to like sniff achievement at this tournament. I'm like, whatever, man. I'm already playing 180 points down. Now I'm just gonna sing songs and push models around. So it was a really cool. It was actually like a really great game, and I got to meet Dave sort of like more personally, like more off, like, because when you do content creation, like you kind of always have to be on, if that makes sense. We lost Brice. When you make content, you kind of have to like, I don't say like you have to like be fake or anything like that, but you always have to be like on. You always have to be aware, right? You know, things you say and do have weight that you didn't expect before. I don't know. It's hard to explain. And to like, you know, we had this moment where we're talking about like you play people and you're like, if I fuck up a rule here, then I undermine my credibility for the next 3 episodes, right? Like, and we kind of shared that little like moment. It was really cool. It was cool. No, I haven't been acquired by Age of Sigmar Podcast Network, and technically I own Warhammer Weekly right now. Well, me and Haywo, we have like a timeshare.
You own Garage Hammer too.
Oh yeah, I think I own Garage Hammer now as well, because I did beat Dave. So
I guess you got to beat Alex too, though.
Well, I guess I think Joe's
you beat both Tom and Vince.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the hostile takeover hasn't quite like taken hold. We just don't have the shares. We still need a majority share, so we have to beat Alex. All right. But yeah. The only do hostile takers. That's why, as a content creator, you need to be a jerk. Everyone expects you to be a jerk or are blown away by how okay you were. Strategery. That makes sense, 100%. And now I understand you as a human being, there, Hobby Bear. No, it was weird. Like that like pressure to quote unquote be on as a content creator, like was completely just not at that table, which was like really cool. So it was like a neat experience. Yeah, and then like my round 5 was against Zach Kasheta. He was on Bone Splitters, green carpet essentially. He had this moment at the very, very beginning of the game where he's about to cast a Breath of Gork, and he's like, well, the good play is to put this on these arrow boys, but the awesome play is to put this on the rogue idol. And I'm like, search your heart, you know which play is truth. And so he put it on the rogue idol, and that's pretty much our game in a nutshell. Is we both made big bold moves, fully aware of the strategic ones, right? You're like, okay, this is like the more strategic one. The game for me came down to I failed about a 6-inch charge on Nagash, and the downside of not being able to command ability re-roll my charges for across my whole army crystallized just how intelligently designed I think Bone Reapers actually are once people stop complaining about Petrifex Elite and choose to get good at the game. Like, the give-take of some of the things that are really strong about your book are also... Like, we were in Hish on the last thing. I can never use that activates first ability. I'm not able to as an army. You know, like, it's just not something I get. I can't reroll charges or guarantee 6 runs. So it takes that, like, weakness of lack of mobility, and it makes it all the more pronounced when you make mistakes with your strategy, and then you don't have the redundancy of dice that some of these generic command traits give you. Now, you do have some other very powerful effects, but the powerful effects are kind of like just numbers, if that makes sense. It's going like, here's just numbers. This is rent. This is save. This is... You're getting just these numbers. And then it's like, on the strategic, need the thing to happen side of the table, you don't have... It's just you. It's everything you've put into motion up until that moment, and you're gonna live by the sword, die by the sword with every decision you've ever made. There's no one to save you, nothing to back you up. And it's actually a really cool effect for the army. It begins to feel like this sort of inevitability, the army, which is the most death thing ever. It's so awesome. Like, and that was like the big takeaway for me, that really sort of like galvanized in round 5, when I missed that 6-inch charge. I'm like, I missed the 6-inch charge here. Like that's the objective scoring. It's total conquest. I'm like, I take that objective, probably wipe that unit, and then I move on to the next one. You know, like, it's like, nope, now I get stuck here for fucking 2 turns instead, because now his reinforcements have come across the table, you know, yada yada, and it just like it snowballs from there. I'm like, I take that. We play a completely different game, and I'm not saying, oh, I fucking win. No, it's a different game, and that moment made me really appreciate my battle tome and my army and my supreme lord of the undead, Nagash. So, hell yeah. Brice frequently misses charges of all lengths. I see Ty has shown up in chat throwing shade already. Brice, would you care to comment on that?
I already did.
Chat delay, mostly real life charges. Oof.
Hi Ty, we missed you.
That's why Kyle here. That's why I played Legions of Nagash for so long. Minimum 6-inch charge success.
Hey, could I in RantCast fashion just go completely off track real quick?
Absolutely, I encourage it. Do this.
So Ty, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think Ty had a grudge at Holy Wars this year, and I think it's with someone in chat. And I'm hoping that chat delay isn't too long, that if I really stretch this out, he'll say yes or no. And if that is the case, Kyle, I officially challenge you to a match at Holy Wars Round 1. I love delay, because it's like I'm probably a minute ahead.
The suspense. So you're challenging him. Are you? Really? The gauntlet down?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever played Kyle.
Kyle is the first person I played at my tournaments away from the LGS.
You know, and I won't even... I want to take that grudge one step further if he does accept. I also challenge you to bring minimum 6 Morghast, sideboard 2 more, and put 10 on the table, bud.
Oh, boy. The challenge of challenges has been thrown down. like Tristan's just like, yes.
he has them. There's no need to fund them. He has them.
Yeah, no, he's got them.
No, Tristan's talking about something else entirely. He lost his model. He wasn't even listening.
Oh, the poor guy. I was planning to bring bear dwarves for Holy Wars, he says. But this challenge here, the challenge, I feel like you've added some caveats to the challenge. He's got to throw some back at you. It's only fair.
Yeah.
I think...
Right, let us know your stipulations, Kyle.
Yeah, let us know your stipulations for him, because he's made some lofty stipulations. I think this is a good challenge. And real quick, while you answer that, I'm going to catch up to what Bad Moon Daka said up here. Missing one charge can fuck up so much shit. I charged 2 full units of Blade Geist, got 9s. I was happy, but not really. Yeah, there's Bad Moon Daka. Would that actually be Dave? Maybe, I bet. Yeah, it's like you want that 10. No, it also made me appreciate the intelligence of the +1 inch to charge, +1 inch to run on the banners for Mortek Guard. It basically says that if you get outside of 3 inches, you can't fail that charge. And so if you've played to like, I want to be within 3 inches to guarantee this charge thing that most of us play toward, you know, like we want to get to that 3, and when your Legion of Nagash at 6 inches, no sir, okay. Sorry, he was playing Night Hunt against me, and he made 2 9-inch charges in that game. It was 9-inch on Blade Geist and 9-inch on Chain Rasp though. It was. Yeah, it made me appreciate that, like, where they're like, oh, we know you can't reroll charges and 6-year runs, but at least you can guarantee the 3-inch if you, like, you set up the movement and then, like, you get this, right?
So how'd you finish?
I finished 3-2. Playing 180 down, and I'm not making excuses here, because, again, different games would be completely different. Like, it's really hard to say, but I was aware that I was basically 300 points off of my ideal list, which to me, the real takeaway point here is that I've got room for personal growth. You know, my ceiling is higher. And that was really encouraging, is to go 3-2 on not my best version. That means when I get that best version, you know, I've got some extra growing to do. That I've got some more room to expand. And I've already got useful information on where I'll take Nagash. It was my goal to have Catacross for Adepticon. I had so much fun playing Nagash. Again, that, like, I gotta take him again. I gotta take him to, so maybe I'll push Catacross back to Midwest Meltdown and roll with Petragash into Akon. Because he was just, this is the thing I wanted to talk about for RantCast purposes. This is more the on-brand moment, the evergreen moment is, it is kind of a tragedy that he's not, like, awesome in his own book, LON. But if you've heard my perspective on how LON was kind of like a GA death book, then I'm not, like, broken up about it, because we didn't get any new models, and it really was just kind of like this weird thing. You know, they're technically not sub-factions, they're different armies. You know, it's such a weird book compared to, like, the books that would come out after it, you know, that we've now since come to appreciate. So, you know, maybe we get an LON 2.0 down the line, or Nagash gets his dedicated book, or OBR is setting a template for how Nagash will interact with the rest of the Death armies going forward. Cool. Whatever the case may be, as long as he's always, like, the big bone daddy himself, I'm gonna be happy, and I'm gonna have a lot of different ways to play him. But the way he played in this army is, like, he was one half my army. And it was very, like, for instance, yeah, we're spamming the Nagash emotes now. For instance, Zach very intelligently identified, he's like, okay, and what's the spell that makes you teleport? I'm like, Protection of Nagash. He's like, oh, he's got that right now? I'm like, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to shoot him. Like, he just refused to deal damage to Nagash. And, like, the couple times, when I got Nagash in on melee, he avoided activating until the very end of the combat so that Nagash would, like, wipe the guys out and have the least chance of taking damage. Very cagey with it. He didn't want to give me a redeploy on Nagash, and it was the right decision. It was the perfect decision. And, like, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take fucking Pendulum and throw it at my own Nagash to redeploy him. So that's going to be a future evolution of my list. I'm doing it. I'm tired of people. Oh, he was really, he played a really good game. I talked about how he, like, threw the Rogue Idol into the combat early. And, like, it wasn't the best decision, but it was still a good game decision. It's not like he was, like, making bad game decisions. He made great game decisions the whole time. And he even, like, we sat there and we kind of discussed my game decisions. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, your positioning was good. You made all the good game decisions, too. He's like, we just had this, like, really... It reminded me of when I played Tobin Prime. It had that same, like, we're two guys who know the game and our armies, you know, making good plays. It was awesome to play Nagash, but the thing I noticed is, like, he went from being an 800-point utility piece that required an extra, like, 300 points of screening sometimes, and then sometimes not, to being just a consistent force multiplier. Sometimes for himself, and sometimes for my army. But he was consistently exerting his will on the table. And I think that's a success of design. You know, when you play Archaon, he's 800 points. And he feels like this 800-point god rolling around the table. Nagash, his spells are good. And it's great to, like, cast 8 spells a turn, but, like, not all spells are created equal, and only a couple of them feel, like, powerful. The most of them are just, like, these nickel and dimey things. To its credit, the Arcane Bolt thing actually feels great. It's like he's just, like, shooting laser beams as he's walking up to, like, kill you. And the damage gap that the Arcane Bolt spam covers between his melee, because his melee profiles are, like, good, but they're not 800 points of murder good. If I had 800 points of, like, Witch Elves, you know, they're going to kill a lot more than Nagash. But what ends up happening is with those Mystic Bolts, plus his melee profile, now with a +1 to hit because of Shrieker, now it feels like you can really exert your will. Now it feels like you can really dictate the pace of the game with this 900-point piece. And that's a huge success, I think. It was infectious. I had so much fun. I had played old YOLO solo Nagash. This is better. It feels so... And rules-wise, I'm not talking about that. But, like, play-wise, it feels so much better. The weight of the character on the table it's right. It feels right, finally. I watched my opponents all weekend go, yeah, fuck him. I'm going to leave him right there. Or when they try to fight him, like, be like, okay, I got to change plans. Like, now you get the chaff. I'm going to go over here and fight real stuff. It felt like this inevitable death god kind of trying to, like, exert his will on the table. And people dealing with him in different, meaningful ways. And as someone who plays Nagash and has played Haywo a lot, I know the power of a single Stonehorn charging Nagash. And there's actually a little majority percentage chance that it'll, in one turn of combat, put Nagash to 2 health. So, or kill him outright. So you go, the 20% chance that Nagash is dead or at 2% health is like my 900-point model against your 400-point model. Now I'm gonna have to change. So, like, the people who have the 400, 500-point melee badasses still get to, like, make Nagash second guess fighting him in melee, whilst, you know, your idiot chaff should feel like idiot chaff to the death god. It's great. It's great. It's fucking great. Sorry about my tangent within a tangent within a tangent, but where do we come down on the grudge match?
10 more gas are hitting the table.
10 more gas are hitting the table. What were his stipulations for you? I feel like there has to be a
I made them for myself because he didn't say anything. I'm painting an army that has 0 paint on it right now by Holy Wars for him.
So you're painting a brand new, never seen before army, 100% for him.
Yep.
Kyle says you seem puzzled about something, Andrew.
I was just thinking about Nagash.
Thinking about Nagash and how awesome he is?
No, I was just thinking, like, how you beat him. Just thinking.
Just thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, Ren 2 shooting is still really good against Nagash, even YOLO solo Nagash. Like, Ren 2 shooting is still... The ways you beat him before are still the ways you beat him now. Mortal Wounds have never been the way to deal with Nagash, but if you get enough of them, maybe. And if they're coming from a disposable source, maybe.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of how you beat him. The big problem is that protection in Nagash. If you're bringing any amount of firepower after the wounds are allocated in that phase, I'm blinking him away. So like, I told Joe, like, I'm like, you know, because it's like a 20% chance that you can full to dead Nagash off the charge with your Murderhorn or Crunchhorn respectively, what I do when you charge him is in the when you have done I hope you do one mortal wound through and the impact hits, and I fucking teleport him to the other side of the table. I'm like, I'm not going to fight that combat if I don't have to, and I'm going to go and kill your Yetis or whatever off of that point. And you know, we just had like a gentleman's agreement about it. Well, yep, we know that's how this goes. Yeah, but like usually you just ignore him. Honestly, you just kind of ignore Nagash. Where that's the thing is like, armies had the luxury to 100% ignore him before, and like 60 Grimghast Reapers were doing his heavy lifting, and now it's like Nagash is a strong independent mermaid. He does a lot of his own lifting himself now, so it's pretty great. So what was your day 2 like? The annotated version, because I think we've teased it enough.
Well, first, that Saturday night when we went out,
oh yeah,
the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
We went out to dinner, yeah.
We went out to eat with Mike and Haywo, and he was telling us about his games, and we were all nodding, and he's like, yeah, game 2 I played, and my opponent was new, so game, and we're all like nodding, he's like, so I taught him how to get fucked. Coaches like set down our drinks.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was still laughing about that.
Yeah, I taught him how to get fucked. What was his opponent was? His opponent was Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah, I think he just charged him off with everything one at a time.
He just like one at a time took apart the Flesh Eater Courts.
Just like 4 stone horns into everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounded like he had a good tournament. So my day 2, I played my team captain, Mike Butcher, and he was like, I think he resigned the game like before he even showed up. So
true.
He got mad. He's like, I was like, you know what all this stuff does? He's like, oh yeah, dude, I don't know what it does. It just kills me. It's all good. I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, yep, that stuff kills me. I can't do anything about any of this, so let's do it. And then he does it, and then he brings his Great Unclean One, who's 3 places of power. I auto unbind his. He gets an extra spell to give him an extra save, so I just auto unbind that. He's like, of course you do. And then I threw everything in his face and just like started killing his. I killed his Great Unclean One. I rolled a 6 on the pendulum because he came up trying to get the point, and then I hadn't even summoned the Darkfire Demon Rift yet, and he's like, "We're good, man." He's like, yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. So he showed me what was gonna happen, and we just sat around and talked 45 minutes.
There's actually like an.
He's like, nope, this is done.
It's your team captain. His Nurgle army is another stunning looking army too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good army, but yeah, just all Blight Kings, Great Unclean One, and nothing to stop mortal wounds.
Nothing to stop mortal wounds. Oof.
So I started blasting him. Then my game 5, I played against a guy named Greg from lacrosse as well. And he had Cities of Sigmar. And on my first turn, he had Phoenix. I guess you got to say what Cities of Sigmar. He had 2 Phoenixes, 1 Frost, 1 Flame, and 30 Phoenix Guard, and 20 shooting guys who never shot because I blasted them. And then 10 Shadow Warriors, and then a couple heroes, a Battle Mage and Anointed on foot. I think that was it. But there's nothing in there. I think it needs something to do a little more damage. Because the Phoenixes didn't even do much damage. I tanked a Phoenix for quite a while. I was never going to kill it, so I just didn't kill it. And then he killed a bunch of pinks and stuff. He took one of my objectives from me. It was Total Conquest, where you get 2 points if you take it from somebody. But then I set up a barrier of endless spells in the middle. Oh yeah, and then on my first hero phase, he's like, "No, dude, you're cheating." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I got the war scroll right here."
God,
he's like, "No, you can't do that." He like gets out his smartphone. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I cheated all weekend. I gotta go apologize to some people." And he's like, "You played 4 games and nobody told you." I'm like, "I guess not." So I was like, "Okay." So I just like slowed down a little and killed all this stuff with endless spells very slowly instead of very quickly. And then I flew out with the Gaunt Summoner again on 22 inches to half the board and summoned an entire army and I set up my Brimstone. Like, he barely had anywhere to go with his Phoenixes if he wanted to come charge my bunker on the back right side of the map, and then I just had so many dudes over there, and he won the turn, but then he looked at the board and he was like, he's still resigned after that. He's like, I can't do anything. I can't get you. And we were in Hish, and I didn't even yet.
You were in Hish, and I'm sorry. You were in Hish and what?
I didn't even cast Banishment yet, and I was going to banish his Phoenix, and it would have been banished in such a way that it would have like had to be way on the back of the board because I flooded the board with so many strung out units that there would have been nowhere for it to land outside of 9 except in like the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't even cheat that game.
So you end the weekend 3-2 as well, right?
Yes.
Except you end in 4th place overall.
Yeah. 4th place overall.
Missing podium by like 2 points. So like if you'd gotten sports votes for not playing filthy cheaties in Tzeentch, you might have ended in 3rd.
Yeah.
But you did walk away with well, I guess how'd your weekend end? 3-2 with some heavy asterisks.
Yeah, I got 2 awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the best painted army, and I got the best painted model. And I ended in 4th place. But I will request, I don't know if you can do this, Brice, if you have access, if you could just take me off of place. I don't feel like it's legit since I cheated every game.
No, I'll just put an asterisk next to it.
Yeah, and say cheated with Spell Portal every game.
This is a Spell Portal gate. This is like a Deflate gate. This is Wisconsin's tournament scene equivalent of Deflate gate. Like you're just always gonna have an asterisk on this 4th place finish.
I would like to say though,
you should play the real game. So I wasn't really doing that. So Domus, you got 4th place as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to count this. You send me to the bottom of the however many players.
Well,
I did not cheat. I did not cheat to get my 2 hobby awards.
Yeah, and you also absolutely dominated this hobby awards. I don't know how much you guys see about like the voting and the scoring and stuff like that, but the amount of votes that you had for favorite model were like way above everyone else, and your army was absolutely beautiful. And to win best painted by 3 full points at PACA is a huge difference. And like it's not your traditional paint scoring at PACA. It's kind of based on fan voting and stuff like that. So yeah, you were almost the first time ever the person to sweep favorite army, favorite model, and favorite objective. You missed favorite objective by 2 votes. Otherwise,
man,
one of them was mine. I voted for Trunzo against you.
My own brother.
I'm sorry. I liked Trunzo's little like rat trap with the little dudes there, the wiggly dudes. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
So, did you vote for yourself? Because that would be the 2 votes.
Vote for yourself. Can you?
I am the best.
I don't think that's allowed.
I'm the best. Like, as you sign, you write who, like, it says, like, your name and then what you're voting for.
I voted for myself 9 times through an endless spell portal.
No, it was, Andrew Yells, you need to throw up your army up on Twitter. If you're watching, listening to RantCast, go look up Andrew Yells. That keeper was fucking awesome. And if I can paint you a word picture here real quick, he had it currently emerging from one of the realm gates, like coming out of this black void.
Void, yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. And the blending and stuff on your stupid derpy ass horrors were quite great. And now I understand why it took you like. When I did my, like, hobby streams, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I just finished painting 3 horrors. I'm like, you just painted 3 horrors? I'm like, and I'm, like, sitting here with, like, just 10 Mortek Guard in front of me and feeling dejected and stuff. But then, like, I see one of these, and I'm like, every one of these, and I just, like, look at my 10 Mortek Guard per 3 of those, and I'm just like, Just shaking my head.
Yeah, they're about 2 hours a piece.
2 hours a piece.
Hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah. No. I've never seen horrors look good. Actually. So
thank you.
So well done, man. But yeah, my favorite so now we get to my favorite moment of the weekend, which is when you accept your 2 hobby awards and you say, I do 2 things: I paint and I fuck, and in front of an entire live studio audience, and it all cracks up. Man, it was a great tournament. I think there's some really great memories. I mean, you may have cheated your way to 4th place, but no one can take away your 2 hobby awards. Brice, you haven't chimed in on the Paca love in a while. I see entertaining chat gang for us though. So
yeah. So the second day for me was a cool day. I got to really see kind of how things come together with the scoring, and we didn't really talk about it at all, but the scoring at Paca, well, Andrew kind of mentioned it, is like very, very different. Sports and hobby are very, very highly weighted. So like you get battle points, 25 battle points is all you get, but then paint and sports points are max paint points is 25 points. So it's equal with battle, and then sports also get added in there. So you can go 3-2 and get 4th place overall. You can go 4-1 and beat someone who went 5-0, which happened last year with Ryan Nichols. So it's like that, seeing all that come together and seeing that, like, Jake, Trunzo, Brendan, and Sean were in first, or in contention for first, and looking at just battle points, but then seeing where that shakes out at the end after the hobby and sports are put in, it's like, this is I love this.
It's what I like about it is it's like so I always talk about like the 3 pillars of AOS, and I think so. You got like the 3 pillars, and I think you just have this one like overriding atmosphere, and the number one is community, but the 3 pillars are, for me, it's narrative, hobby, and gaming, right? And it's like those 3 pillars are equally represented at Paca, if that makes sense, like equally. That they're just all 3 are perfectly exemplified, with maybe like community kind of standing in for narrative or fluff or whatever. But it's really cool the way it's weighted that way. And I wouldn't think that I would love that personally, this former, esport kind of a-hole once upon a time, like, never went as hard as like Halo with the Magic the Gathering grinder, but there was a time when we used to do this tournaments together, like I put a down payment on a house once upon a time with Magic cards I sold and some winnings I made. Like it's to one day then be like, this was, it's like this and Holy Havoc. I haven't made a Holy Wars yet. This, Holy Havoc, and Brew City were basically like my 3 favorite tournaments. And that's just like a weird place to be at for someone who thought he'd be more of a filthy, dirty whack player coming in initially into Age of Sigmar. But I feel like you can kind of take care of and scratch that need to be the best general itch at Paca very easily, because you do have the Seans and the Jakes and the Brendans of the world. Trunzo, who's probably also one of the greatest. Maybe we don't talk about nearly how great he is at the game, but he took 2nd at Adepticon, and the guy's always crushing it. First at Paca. Like, you're still going to
always like 2nd place or better.
2nd place or better, yeah. I mean, he's consistently at the top. Even when there's not hobby weighted in, like, he's a fantastic player. So you're still going to get, like, strong games. As strong as you'll get anywhere else. That kind of takes care of itself with just the caliber of player we have in the Midwest. But then to show up and be like, I just want to see my friends. I haven't gotten to play that time slot. I know it's, maybe I haven't talked about it enough, but like taking place where it does. And we've got CanCon and LVO going on. But then like in the Midwest, you're like, it's dead of winter. We haven't played a tournament since Havoc back in November, and that was a doubles. So realistically, we might not have even played since October with Dragonfall. And you just have this like big void. You probably have this is a nice little chunk to get your hobby project in front of you, by the way. You pick up a new army in like October, November, and you work towards it through the holidays into that PACA. Like, you've got a nice chunk of time where you're not rushing toward a tournament to get a good-looking army together. Then you get this great excuse to get away, see your friends again, you know, kind of in the quiet north, and drink some beer and have a great time. It's such the atmosphere and region and timing of it, it's just this perfect, like, the three spheres of the game come together. These sort of outside elements come together, I think, really perfectly to make it such a unique and interesting event. I mean, I think that segues really nicely into, I hope it sticks around, and you know, maybe you can lend some
well, there's two things real quick before we get
real
to that.
quick.
There's
there's one other thing. Yeah, go ahead with it. You might
with you know, struggling as a struggling hobbyist, I'm divided on hobby, like we were talking about hobby being so heavily weighted.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about this, and you can kind of attest to this because you asked me multiple times, but you score your own paint, and
yes.
The whole thing, and you know, the way that Raj wanted it to be when he decided that's how scoring your own paint was going to go, was just to honestly reflect on the effort that you put in. And if you put the time and effort in, and you know what you did, so if you did these things, you're getting full points. It's just the points after that, the extra credit, if you will, to get you in the category of best painted, best overall.
Yeah, like, you're not
that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's excellent because we go through and look at all of them, and then we decide, you know, these are the ones we think are the best, and then we, you know, have our conversations. But if you put the time in to shade and highlight, maybe, you know, the things you highlighted and we're not seeing them, and we can look closer and see that you did, or things like that. So, like, it doesn't hurt you with hobby being weighted. It just it rewards the full aspect of everything.
Well, no, Erda, my struggle was very real and very pronounced, my friend. Like, you were here in I think every single one of my every single one of my 12-hour streams leading up to PACA. You were here for a lot of those. My struggle was real, but, like, then I got handed this checklist and it said, "Hey, Andrew," I'm sorry, Mephisto. We got to be on brand here. How did you think you did to this? You know, like, it was like, God, this event was just like, it was freaking affirming for me, because it was the hard work of hey, this is the tournament that got away. It became like a metaphor for showing that I had conquered my mental health issues from the year before in, like, a weird sort of way, you know, like this like, it was showing me that I had won in the end. Just getting there with this project that started kind of in October with falling in love with the army, but I didn't get all my boxes until in January, so I had to rush it a little bit more. But theoretically, if I had picked up that army after, you know, like, so all the armies are out, we didn't get 12 books in a year like we did last year. You know, all the players going into like October as far as releases go, and you pick up that hobby project. Had I been a little bit healthier on schedule that way, it didn't matter. But I got to that thing, and I went, here, grab your sheet of paper and look at your army and look at what you did. And I had this moment of, like, self-achievement. I didn't need a fucking trophy. I went down the checklist and I went, no, hell yeah, I did that. Like, it's not as awesome as I want it to be here. And there was one where it's like, well, are the highlights consistent through? And I'm like, I know they weren't. So I'm like, no, they're not. And, like, so I didn't fill in that box. And there was these little check ones where I went, like, hell yeah, I did that. And they're like, well, how is your army reflected in the realm? I'm like, motherfucker, if they don't give me this point, you know, like, I painted my skeletons black for a goddamn reason. They're from Ulgu, and they're made with the shadow beast from Ulgu. That's why they're still Petrifex too, because have you ever seen fucking fossils before they get cleaned? They're black. You know, one step away from a fossil is fucking oil, and that's black. Don't at me, I'm right here. So I, like, got really aggressive with my description, you know, I'm like, because for those of you, there was a box, like, is your army's, like, realm represented in your hobby? And I got, like, real aggressive with my description, like, pleading my case. So, like, I wrote, like, a whole handwritten paragraph, filled up the whole box. For why it was. Brice, did I get that point?
You get every point you give yourself as long as it's not blatantly obvious you didn't do it.
Okay, so I got that point. But, like, I'm like, they're fucking black skeletons. Of course they're from Ulgu. Like, I don't have an Ulgu artifact in my army, but I was sure to say my army's from Ulgu for that reason. So, I even, I was even, like, I didn't want to take the Purple Sun of Shyish for, like, it's a fun versus narrative happened. I was going to take the Geminids, because they're from Ulgu. I'm like, of course I should have Geminids, because my army's from Ulgu. They're Ulgish. And then in the end, I'm like, oh, no, I'll go with the fun thing, which is the Purple Sun. I do not regret it, by the way. Because I did kill 20 out of, like, 60 models. But yeah, no, it was that paint marathon and then getting the little checklist. It's like, if the goal, and this is, Andrew, you and I have talked about this a little bit, where you're like, you want to enter Golden Demon, and you're like, I don't know if I'm yet to the level of winning a Golden Demon or a Crystal Brush or whatever. And I'm like, it's not about winning winning the medal at the end of it. I mean, that is a good carrot on a stick, but that first barrier for any competition, and it might be different for other people, is yourself. You got to beat yourself. Getting to the point where you go, I'm going to put this for the Golden Demon. I'm going to enter this model into Golden Demon. That right there is the first thing you got to conquer. And in that respect, the self checklist and stuff like that, like, it's a little intimidating. But on the other hand, like, trophies will take care of themselves if you take care of yourself and all those achievements, and you're practicing the right way, and you're getting in your reps, and you're doing everything that you honestly know you need to do to get better. And hobby is no different from being on a 3-2 threshold and wanting to go 4-1, or being 4-1 and wanting to win it all. Like, it's no different from anything else. You know you got to put in the honest work. There's not going to be any shortcuts. Whether it's painting, getting better at writing and telling your story, or winning games. And instead of getting any hobby done tonight, I'm on Brice drinking Water Watch 2020. But yeah, I don't know, like, and I know, and I came away from PACA going, my army's not to where I want it to be right now. And so there's the Water Watch there. I didn't run my 5 skeletons because I started, and I'm going to show the camera here. So I started with the banner. It's purple. And I started getting my base coat for my formula of black down on the skeleton horses. That is gray. In the hotel, I had probably got about 7 good hours for me, which is about as much time as I need to paint 5 models. Badly. 5 models badly, should be noted. And I said no. I looked over at Haywo, who's already laying in bed, and I'm like, I could rush these, but I'm not. I want to do these good. And I was looking at some of the intricacies of the model, and like Mortec Guard, I covered up some of the shortcuts I took by like sticky tacking their shields literally to them, because I knew I'm going to take them off and go back in and finish up the glow gems and some stuff that I just didn't finish. I'm looking at the details here, and I'm like, if I rush this, I won't be able to fix this. Not with my ability, you know. A better painter could absolutely. But I'm like, if I rush this and I don't go through my order of operations, I'm not going to be able to fix it down the line. And so I just said no. I'll play 180 points down. So like that was a weird. I felt like I grew that. Like I felt like my hobby brush grew 5 sizes that day, or whatever the fucking Grinch quote is, because I'm very much I'm very much like more firmly in the competitive play game sphere. But I'm trying to get better at hobby. I want to win a hobby award in the next couple of years. Like, that's my goal, is to get to that point. And I have a huge gulf between my army and Andrew and Brice and any of these other folks. So part 2 of that goal is to paint my army really well, and then part 2 is to like sabotage your vehicles. So I think I can make that happen.
All right, man. I got 10 minutes.
All right, so
we can let Andrew do his announcement.
All right, so we'll let Andrew do.
Like 15 more minutes than him. So.
All right, cool. So Andrew, you got to. So the winner of WaaaghPaca was Adam Trunzo. He's
yes,
one of the best the Midwest has to offer. Absolutely. And you did something pretty awesome at the end of that. You walked up to him, and you want to take us through that.
Well, we say congratulations to Adam Tronzo, and I will admit this, inspired by Jeremy Cooper. I know that he's a coward, and we've never played on the board, but I was inspired by Jeremy Cooper on your show a few weeks back when they were talking about the Texas Masters.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to do something that we've talked about for a few weeks now. And we're going to host a Masters this year in December in Madison, Wisconsin, the heart of the Midwest. And congratulations, Adam Tronzo, you're the first invitee.
So, to recap that, because I know he's cutting out a touch, Jeremy Cooper was on RantCast a few episodes ago. He was talking about the Texas Masters, and we were like, man, we really want a Masters in the Midwest. And then the ultimate conclusion was just do it then. And that's what we're doing. We're just gonna do that then. And basically every winner from every Midwest event, so we got PACA as the first.
We got the list. It's WaaaghPaca, LodgeCon, Holy Wars, Adepticon. We will invite the highest rated player who lives in the Midwest. So last year it would have been Tronzo, for example, because I don't believe the winner lived in the Midwest. I think they're East Coast. City Brawl, Midwest Meltdown, FlatCon, the Michigan GT, Dragonfall, Ren 4, so we are calling Ohio the Midwest.
We had a long debate on whether we count Ohio as the Midwest, by the way. Take it out.
The Renegade GT and the Circle City Clash, we will invite all 4 winning players. This puts us at 15 players. The 16th player will be a wild card, somebody who has consistently performed at all these events but maybe missed out on winning that tournament. Any players who have qualified at the Circle City Clash, who have already previously qualified, that's going to be another wild card.
Yeah, and so we were also talking about, like, if you have, like, double up winners, so, like, say Tronzo goes on to win, like, Holy Wars or something like that.
Yeah.
Then we'll go down to the second place. So
yes, for the second event. Yeah.
For the second event, and it's got to be like an order of operations. If you're already qualified, you're already qualified. Then we'll just go to the next person who hasn't qualified, type thing. It might not be a perfect system starting out. Maybe we'll do a point system down the line, but it gets us to 16, which is proper Swiss for a Midwest Masters in December.
Yep.
And so that's the goal. I liked the idea of the wild card being a little bit like a hey whoa and I draft them type thing, but maybe that's a next time thing. And the main thing,
you do maybe a sports shout. You just yell at each other about who's truly deserving of the goal.
Yeah, we could do some sort of like cast that way. So Midwest Midwest Masters, it's going to be in Madison. It's going to be in December, and we hope to get 16 eligible individuals together for that. With the big goal of at some point we're going to take the top 4, and by some point I mean next year, the following year. I want to take the top. This is a me thing. I don't know if you're on board with this. I want to take the top 4 from the Midwest Masters, and I want to go into Texas and punch their best 4 in the mouth, take their trophies back to Wisconsin, and we're going to call that the
St. Louis. It could be any number.
Yeah, well, it could be a neutral ground. Neutral ground.
Next Adepticon. Yeah, on a Friday night.
It could be informal.
US champion.
Yeah.
US champion.
Yeah, the following Adepticon, just like in the pickup tables in the hallway, we elect one of ours from the Midwest Masters to fight one of theirs from the Texas Masters.
Midwest Masters. So Tronzo's qualified. We'll see who qualifies. It's this weekend or next weekend for LodgeCon.
Next weekend.
Next weekend.
Right,
Great.
Brendan? Maybe. I think it's next weekend. I'm probably wrong though.
So tentative dates: 13th and 14th. We'll be up on Twitter soon, waiting on some logos to get made.
Ohio State can leave. Well, Brice. Yeah, and I mean, if we need to jettison Ohio out, I think we can find another tournament to put in there.
Well, the problem is they won't have a home because they're not the South and they're not the East Coast, so I think they have to be with us.
They're just Ohio.
Yeah, they're just Ohio. Yeah, we already debated about this. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Ah, man. Okay.
Well, we're welcoming
part of being Midwestern is being welcoming. So we'll welcome them because the East Coast certainly won't. And the South, like, who knows? So, so Ohio wants to be in the South. You know, we could send them south, but I think, and that the idea is that like maybe eventually eventually the U.S. Masters is gonna end up just being like North versus South for probably the first one. But then from there, we figure that the East Coast will sort out theirs, and the West Coast will figure out theirs, and there can be some sort of
they got to get on it.
Yeah, and so we'll figure like everyone will just if you build it, they will come, right? We spent a while without a Masters. Man, Andrew, I know you gotta get rolling. Anything else to add there? Anything else to say, or anything you want to put on blast?
No, I had a great weekend.
Yeah,
it was a good time. I passed out so hard last night. I was so exhausted. I had no memory of our car trip home. I was beat.
I slept Monday night as well, and then I was back to my insomniac ways last night. I went to bed at like 10 o'clock, and I was up at like, I don't know, 2 a.m. or something like that, and I've been going since. So, my insomnia came back full force. I guess without knowing I've got Ulgu tomorrow, I just don't sleep as well as... we got to get some like green jackets for the winners. Oh man, the possibilities are endless for the Master System. All right, man. I'll let you go, and then Brice and I we'll finish up talking about this.
All right, then I'll have to catch the end for Brice's announcement.
There you go. All right, Brice. So.
All right. Good night, everybody on the show. I will see you next.
Later. So I guess how do you feel about this Masters notion?
No, I think it's cool. Are you gonna have a best sports or?
Well, okay, so we're drawing a lot from. Maybe that'll be the wild card. We'll just take like the greatest sportsman.
They just get stomped.
Yeah, the great. I don't think. I see a lot of the people who tend to win sports aren't like just, they're not like bad players per se or anything like that. One of the things that, if you watch the Jeremy Cooper episode, I think it's really, it's a really good episode, but we talk about a lot of this. They have a requirement for their Masters sort of bid events that you have to have hobby and you have to have sports. You have to have them. Like the degrees to which are up to the individual like areas. So like Austin has their own like set of tournaments and qualifiers to do it, and Dallas has their own set. And they have it split up over regions and stuff. And what's nice about that is you leave the agency to those regions for the most part. And then so you leave those regions kind of in charge of their own fate. And then you just kind of get together with this council to like figure out what the Master tournament is for everybody. So like every region kind of handles their stuff. And I see us following a very similar sort of, Andrew is being real brash and he's saying he's the guy and all that. But, like, we all want it. I think a lot of people do want this, and we've talked to a bunch of other people about it. And then from there, it's like, we can figure out the minutia of it. We can bring in, a council and do all that stuff down the line. But just get something going, man. Just get people playing games, right? We want more excuses.
Yeah, that's cool.
To play some games. And you guys are going to lose me on the visual because it's weird just staring at Brice in a really big format. Tom McClure. Yeah, Tom McClure is just 12 spots for the sports. 16 sportsman tournament. See, man, but that could be fun too. Is like, and then setting up like the other sort of spawns of that. But it's just been the last couple years in particular for AOS. You look at events and you look at like people coming into the game has essentially doubled 2 years in a row, and the number of tournament turnouts have essentially doubled along the same line. But yeah, and then I think you could take something like the Masters and then have like a Crystal Brush / Golden Demon side thing and have entries to make it more interesting for other people to spectate, but not necessarily have to also spend their weekend on. Anyway, so enough about the Masters. Back to PACA, because I think this is competitive players to spit on them. No. So back to PACA. This is the last PACA. There was a pretty heartfelt sort of moment there. I think there was sort of almost like a little aura to it the entire weekend.
Yeah.
You know, there's a somberness to it. It was pronounced, and I remember there's a moment when they're doing the beer hoisting, and you know I was just like watching and I'm like, man, 11 years of that, and I'm just like, I missed 10 of them. And like I can imagine like, well, what happens if you had like a dead heat, not just in the club thing? Would you beer hoist for like, if Trunzo and Andrew had tied on the best objective, would they have had to hoist? You know?
That is a great idea.
Yeah, and so I thought about a lot of that stuff, and I want to see this keep going forward, and of course I've heard rumors, and it was confirmed there. You knelt down before
Yep.
Raj and Bear, and you were extended like a light actually shined. I don't know if you saw it because you were kind of kneeling, but like it looked like some of the panels in that hall opened up and some light came down.
Yeah.
And a hat was laid upon your head. It said, well, what did it say, Brice?
Captain Dipshit. and Raj announced me the next Captain Dipshit. It was a long-running joke, a hat that Bear bought for Raj when he gave the tournament to him, and then Bear found another one and bought it for me, for Raj to give to me. And like, I've had some pretty cool moments in my life playing sports and stuff. You know, I've been in state championships and other things like that. And like, this was one of the top 5 moments I think I've ever had, like in front of people, to as silly as it sounds, but to stand up and like have the reception that I had, because I was really worried about it. I know that like I don't know some of those guys really well that have been longtime attendees, and you know, I'm pretty new in the whole scheme of the hobby, and just to stand up and get a standing ovation from everyone in the room was like, you know, brought a tear to my eye type of a situation. And it was just a super cool and like a reassuring moment that this was the right choice to make, because you know, it's something that means a lot to a lot of people, and I didn't want to just take it and do my thing to it and have people pissed about it or something like that. So, you know, I still can mess it up, but just to know in that moment that people were like, yeah, this is, there. A lot of people then after came up and said they were so glad and all this stuff. So I'm excited about the future with it.
Well, I think I mean you shared a little bit of a personal moment regarding PACA a little bit earlier on. I can't think of anyone better personally, and I haven't been in the community like super long either, but I've really tried hard to like respect and learn as much as I can about the events and the people and all that. And like I said, you shared that moment, and I just went, you get what it could mean to have that event at its purest form. And so I'm like, you're gonna do great, man. You're gonna crush it. Yeah. So, and I know that. Oh, go on. You sound like you had something on.
Yeah, no, it's just like I think having a fresh set of hands on it is gonna be a really good thing. Because you know, when you're not invested in the game, it's hard to be super invested in your tournament. And not to say that Raj had checked out or anything like that, but you know, you could tell that he kind of started losing the passion for some of the things. Some of the zany ideas hadn't been there, like mustache contest and the man of intrigue and things like that are just these things you hear and you're like, that sounds awesome, what is it? So I hope to rekindle that fire and bring some of those things back and really kind of hammer home the club aspect of things, the fun things that, you know, no one told a story except for Detroit about a game. Everyone's stories that they told of their favorite memory were moments that happened outside of the game with the people they were with the things that happened there. And those are the kind of things that I want to keep making happen. So there will be games, there'll be winners and losers, but what's important to me is that the memories are there, and I want to continue to find ways to make sure that that drive stays there, and that people, you know, people from overseas and from Canada and wherever else, you know, people from all over the world have gone to PACA. In WaaaghPaca, Wisconsin, like that's just a crazy statement that someone from Britain flew here to go to WaaaghPaca, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Like, no one would ever believe that, and especially when you say to play a wargaming game, and like they do it because of how cool they hear these stories and the things that happen.
Well, they want these stories too. Yeah, they want them to be part of their journey.
That's the plan. That's the plan, is to make sure that that can happen for 10, 11 more years until there's a youngin to take over for me. To
be the next Captain Dipshit for you, and you put the hat on their head.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm got my own personal stories, but I was telling Haywo, we were just we couldn't stop laughing on it was actually today we were talking some show stuff, and the conversation came up about Ulgu, and we couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, this is the joke we're gonna keep making for years about because my insomnia is just like a part of just who I am, and we've got a bunch of stories about him staying up late back in college and us like making up just stupid D&D characters and stuff like that. We were laughing about the Ulgu thing, and we're just like, we're gonna keep laughing about this one, aren't we? And we're just like, yep. It's like, oh, like I'm gonna sleep tonight like I'm Nagash, knowing I've got Ulgu tomorrow, like just like a baby, and just yeah. I mean, that one, it's just, man, it's like you want those stories, and I think it's got a lot of those. It's got so much potential for that time slot. And WaaaghPaca. Okay. I can't say it the normal Wisconsin way because of the tournament now. It's ruined by vernacular. Yes. Can you maybe tease, because I heard you, like, I know it was just like people like wanting it to stick around and just like, oh man, if it stuck around, and we had some conversations along those lines, you know. But are you able to share any maybe ideas you might have at these preliminary stages? Anything you think you got rolling around in the head?
I mean, there's a lot of things I think that I need to think about. I definitely have full intentions and a team of people that have already stepped up and to help remake a lot of terrain. The main goal is to kind of refresh that terrain, because they have beautiful terrain, but it's fantasy terrain, right? So, you know, there's a difference between that and I remember when I first was getting into this hobby, I saw pictures on whatever, Pinterest or Instagram or whatever it was, of these awesome terrain pieces, and they were from WaaaghPaca. Like the jungle table, that if you search like Lizardmen Temple, one of the first images that comes up is this pool with a skink in it and the water rippling away from it. That's a WaaaghPaca table. So like I want to bring back terrain that people see and they're like, holy shit, this is cool, I want to play there. Mm-hmm. Probably not Herner level terrain, because that can get a little complicated for the games. I still want it to be a place where people can come and practice for their Adepticon list or play their serious stuff. I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that, but I want to make sure the tables look beautiful while they're doing it. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that definitely is going to happen. I've gone back and forth a ton on if I want to change some formatting of things, and I'm still going back and forth, and I want to talk to people who have been there from the beginning and have, you know, strong ties to it to see what they feel and things that they remember that they'd like to see happen again. So I don't have any form of announcement to make regarding that just yet, but I can say that I commissioned someone today to make the logo for the new event.
Oh, you have a name already?
I have a name. Okay. I will not say that name.
Okay.
Because it will be revealed in a much better way than me just saying it.
Okay. All right. So you got an epic rollout
that way. So there will be a pretty epic rollout, unless I fall on my face in the attempt to make it, I'm trying to do things I have no skill in. So I'm trying to make sure I find the resources that can help me do it. But if it goes as it is up here in my head, it's gonna be cool.
I'm sure it'll be cool either way, man. The heart and passion get you a long way when it comes to this hobby. I think they'll get you a long way with WaaaghPaca.
Yeah. So it definitely it will still be in WaaaghPaca. It will still be the same weekend, the weekend before the Super Bowl. The weather sucks, but that's time that it is. And I forget who said it. It might have been Brendan. It might be Greg. I can't remember. But someone was like, you know what my favorite thing about WaaaghPaca is the weather sucks getting here, but once you're here, it's awesome because no one wants to leave because it's so shitty outside. So you're stuck with everyone all weekend. It's not like at Adepticon where people stay off site and people go to different restaurants. You're literally some days, like Friday night, stuck in the hotel, and you'd be an absolute idiot to drive 40 minutes home, like me. So you're just literally stuck there, and that, as much as it sucks, and please take the 5.5 hours to get there because it's better to get there in one piece. But
yes,
once you're there, you're just like, it's super cool, and like it's just like you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere with a bunch of people from all over the Midwest or the world, and just like hanging out.
It's one of these things that's hard to pin down and describe. And good day, Coach. Welcome to RantCast. One of the things that's difficult to pin down about this tournament versus some others is like Adepticon is a spectacle, and I think Midwest Meltdown actually has achieved that spectacle level too, where it's such a big event that it's the spectacle. It was 90 people at WaaaghPaca. It didn't feel like a spectacle. It felt like one of those shut-in or close-in events where you the team building exercises. It felt more like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
We all go to a ski cabin and it's we're there, and there's some stuff that it's hard to pin down the vibe unless you're there or until you're there. But once you are, you go, yup, this is it. And again, I've heard the stories, and I'm like, yup, can confirm. And I even went on kind of more of a somber weekend, but it was still because it's the last one. I think there was a little bit of that in the air, but there was also that hope of renewal and seeing the new thing. I've been asked now, oh, what was WaaaghPaca? We saw you grinding for Paca, all your streams or all your tweets, or me telling a couple people on Discord oh yeah, I just got back from Paca. Oh, what's that? And the elevator pitch I give them is it's the most Wisconsin Age of Sigmar tournament you'll ever go to. Are you going to be able to keep that vibe, do you think? Am I still going to be able to claim that? Okay, is it going to be called BriceCon, first of all?
It is not.
Okay.
It will have a name, and the name will not include my name. But yeah, I think for anyone who knows me, and I at least I hope, the one thing that I try to guarantee in every game that I play is that the person across the table from me has a good time, even if that means that I don't have a great time. So I want that to be the experience everyone would have at an event that I run. And I think that's what makes it Wisconsin, right? Is everyone's just having a blast.
Well, the beer also.
Epitome of the Midwest, right? We're drunk and we just want to hug each other.
Right.
And
the Wisconsin goodbye.
So I think that's the thing I feel most confident in, is that I can continue the WaaaghPaca feel. I just there's a few things that I want to change, and I think it'll be for the best.
Like you said, they've been detached from Age of Sigmar for a little while, and infusing it with more of the Age of Sigmar, but then keeping. I don't think it's certainly a challenge, but I don't think it's undoable. And I like I said, I think you can do it. I think you're more than capable of this. There's a little bit of when you're removed from the thing that you're doing. I to shoutcast League of Legends, I had to play League of Legends. I had to be in it, because if I'm shoutcasting it and I don't know the game anymore, even if I'm the best shoutcaster in the world, if you don't sense that I'm attached to it, you're gonna pull away as an audience member. It just happens, you know. But like with you being, I think the changes that you're gonna bring to it, I think are gonna refresh it. I don't think it's gonna be one of those situations where you've forgotten the face of your father type things and no one's gonna wreck. I don't see that happening. Like I said, there's just something in the air when it comes to PACA. I think that you even, I think that you keep a nod towards that. You do some cool new terrain. You bring in some more of an AOS stuff. Maybe have an OPE award. I don't know. Something along those lines. Something very Wisconsin-y. Keep the beer hoisting. It's my favorite thing. Maybe incorporate a little bit more. There's the club element was great. It was a little muted. I've heard legends of some of the shenanigans these clubs got into from previous PACAs.
So I did ask about that, and the answer, it makes a whole lot of sense once you're not drunk, and it's a liability issue, right? Like, Raj signs the waiver, and people mess stuff up when they're drunk and hammered and throwing kids through windows and breaking urinals off the wall.
Right.
Raj has to pay for all that. So that's why those things are never sanctioned if they happen. It's incorporated, but they're never forced. So
they're not. You mean they don't put that stuff in the pack? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully you learned from the benefit of Raj's experience on that one, I suppose. What, no, like stealing each other's flags and like hiding them out in the golf course or anything anymore?
Yeah. I think there's room for some more club competition.
Some club
and
competition.
I think like we're kind of seeing like in the Midwest, I can't speak for other places, but for the Midwest, like we're kind of seeing a little bit of a resurgence of club pride, if you will.
Yes.
And maybe it's just because Swisco Kings are trying to take over the whole state now. And
is that what it is? The hostile takeover of the Wisco Kings? You guys have been on a tear for hobby awards lately, and it's I can't even call Andrew Yells a clubmate anymore. It used to be just like me, like Haywo, me and him, where we're just getting into Age of Sigmar and figuring it all out again. He's like, oh yeah, I have all these friends back from like my point days or whatever, and like, oh yeah, they're all the Wisco Kings. I'm just gonna go like hang out with them. Like, okay, man, like cold shoulder much?
Yeah, you know when you inherit Andrew Butcher and Trunzo, like your hobby awards are gonna be just fine.
You're just gonna win them all. You're just gonna win them all. Like, okay, but you need. I'll never surrender, says Hobby Bear. No, I'm trying to be an ambassador and stuff. That's the real reason I'm not in a club, and not because no one's invited me and everyone hates me. I don't feel bad about it at all. I'm just trying to, remain a neutral party here.
I think it's just Butcher's still probably salty about Nagash in the team tournament.
I can't help it that we played spoiler. Yeah, fucking Nagash. Like my first meeting of Butcher was Salty Butcher, right? Like he's got what's it, Salty Mike, or he's got his own moniker.
Resting bitch face Mike.
Is that the moniker? Yeah. Or like RBF Mike. I met that version of him at the table. It was actually a great game. It was really fun. That was like kind of when I first met you and him. Actually, and that was I just fucking hate Nagash. It's a good game. I just fucking hate Nagash. I'm like, okay, yeah, I just fucking hate that model. And little did I know Warhammer Face, yeah, it wasn't until that time, like I hadn't yet known that that Brendan had been terrorizing Brendan and like Detroit had been terrorizing the Midwest with Nagash yet. I didn't know. I'm sorry, Butch, man. I'm sorry. I hope we can be friends, man. No, I love the club pride. I think with Circle City Clash, I think you're seeing a little bit the pride coming back a little bit. That stuff's cool. I think that, look, we root for sports for a reason, right? Like, even though you don't have like any, no matter how strongly I yelled for the Packers to win against the 49ers. Oh, sorry, too soon. No matter how much I scream at a Milwaukee Bucks game, like, it doesn't mean Giannis is going to dunk any harder necessarily. But like that rooting interest is still great. And then when you're actually you take that same sort of rooting interest, want my club to do well camaraderie, and then you're a part of it as well, it's just even bigger and more fun. You know, that stuff is great. Congrats on OBR no longer being the most hated army, by the way. I guess you're no longer a bad person. Thank you, Blob. I know. Relatively speaking, I think that was short-lived. I think that was as far as like catching heat. OBR caught heat. So we got our rules teased. Crematorians was the best, I was told by during our rules tease moment. And then the heat started there, saying we were NPE before the book was out. And it lasted all the way until the first real tournament for us to not be the thing that's hated anymore. Giannis might actually dunk harder. The source of his power is unknown. It's true. It's true. That is true. Like, OBR still jerks. Don't get too far ahead. You know, Coach, you're throwing a lot of shade for someone who's going to be my teammate at Midwest Meltdown. Yeah, so PACA 2.0, the top secret named PACA 2.0, Brice man, I wish you all the luck. I will help you in any way I can if you'll let me. And obviously, once you have a name, once we maybe come back on the show, we'll talk about that a little bit more once you have some more details, because I want people come to more Wisconsin tournaments, especially the most Wisconsin tournament asterisk that we have, that we're capable of. And the tournament with no name, it's not BryceCon. BryceCon. Brice Hammer. Ooh, I like Brice Hammer.
Brice Hammer.
I like Brice Hammer. I hope you're writing these down. Internationally recognized as BryceCon. Or like it could be like the event formerly known as BryceCon.
Yeah.
Brice Warhammer Championships. I like Brice Hammer better. Anything you want to put on blast besides the obvious? Any shout-outs?
I with the PACA announcement, I definitely want to give the Plane and Slaying crew props, as well as Mark Ramchek, because without them, this terrain dream would not happen. They, if anyone's ever listened to the show but before, know that Troy and Josh love to fall into a well of IT talk in their files and their stable things and other words that Ty and I have no idea what they mean. And so they have printers running already, printing stuff for me. Wow. And Mark has jumped on board and has 2 printers running for me. So without them, and I know that I'll force Ty to help me paint, and he'll be happy about it, because I'm going to teach him how to airbrush through this process. So without them, there's no way that this would happen. So, and everyone else that's offered, you, Brendan, you know, I get messages all the time now saying I'll help in any way I can. I appreciate it all, and I want more than anything, just like Domus says, playing it, because I want good people there playing.
Well,
so.
that was one of the things you said to me, is like you want the good people to play in it too, and I think that's really important. You talked about like the walking around and like the getting that perspective and seeing the guy run this little model up the centerpiece on the table. That was like his little quest. You want people like that playing in the tournament too, and so you can't take them all to help you make the tournament, otherwise they won't have the great games. That's why I was a little sad at PACA when I first walked up, and I'm like, oh, Brice isn't playing. Like, I was a little sad. And then, like, I'm like, right. And, like, I figured it out by the end of it. I'm like, that's why. And he's, okay. But, but it was like, yeah, you want the great play. You know, if, like, you walk into you walk into Brew City Brawl, and, like, you know, you, Domus, you know, Ty, and, like, Adam Trunzo are all helping Brice, or all helping Brendan run Brew City, you're like, dang it. You know, like, you wanted... You know, those are people you want to see on the table, or here on the table next to you.
There is one other... Odin! I don't know where he is. If I can get him to come.
Yeah, Mochi has been elusive.
He's like, you've been ignoring me for so long.
Yeah.
Here, you talk for...
Yeah, 2 hours and 18 minutes of ignoring the doggo. Yeah.
Okay, I got him to come. I think.
There we
He just
go.
won't come closer.
There we go.
Yeah, we got to get a corgi on camera to announce the one announcement that I'll actually make. Can we see him?
Yeah, we got him. Yeah.
There's Odin. So I haven't decided exactly which award yet will be this, but there will be a golden corgi award given away at WaaaghPaca 2021.
So there will be a golden corgi award at PACA 2021.
It likely will be a special award that I pick. But everyone knows my love for these things, and the award will be extra special.
So if I bring Mochi to PACA as part of my, like, say, display board, will this increase?
I do like the idea. Dave said we should just hire a rover and have anyone that has a corgi be allowed to bring it, because we'd have at least 3 corgi at the event if we did that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So.
Yeah, I like this. This is getting better. So, like, all you had to say is PACA 2021, or the event formerly known as PACA 2021. Now with 3 times the amount of corgi. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sold.
Anyone who doesn't come, I don't want them there.
Yeah, yeah. And you said it's going to be in, like, likely the same venue, if not one of the, it's going to be
It'll be where it was this year or where it was last.
Fair enough.
So.
Now with 300% more corgi. All right, man. Anything else you want to finish up on? Any lingering soapbox moments you got any for the RantCast, or are we closing out?
Fuck yes, I do.
Okay, here we go. Oh, the resolve.
We didn't even talk. I mean, I briefly said how cool someone's pants are, but are you kidding me? When is the RantCast? When are we doing this? I need at least an hour to talk about Elves, and I don't have an hour right now.
I
want a pre. We already got too much. I got lore, which is beautiful, and I loved every word I read. But I want before the book comes out hype, and when the book comes out hype.
You know what? We'll book it, man. I don't have any guests booked for February. You tell me your day. Oh no, I've got Joe Pagano and the gentleman who ran the LVO. I'm struggling to remember his name right off the top of my head.
You have Joe? That means that you're about to become
No, he's coming on. He knows ahead of time that RantCast Incorporated or Incorporated is not for sale, and we're not open to hostile takeovers. First, if Age of Sigmar wants RantCast, they got to start by taking back their properties I've already conquered from them. Like, and if he's not careful, I'm coming for his title. Like, I'm gonna start running smack and cutting promos against Joe Pagano, and maybe at NashCon this year, we might have another intergalactic challenge. Maybe. They got to go through the wolves of chaos first. That damn straight. Marok's got my back. Look at that. No, so Joe Pagano, interdimensional Warhammer champion of the multiverse, Joe Pagano. Yeah, that Joe Pagano, whose title might end up on the line after a RantCast in the future. Who knows? Yeah, anyway, I've got Joe Pagano. He's lined up. It's fluid because I want to get the full Joe on RantCast. We might actually make a black hole. I don't know if his personality and my personality are on the same show at the same time. I have no idea. But actually, we're going to be talking CanCon recap and a little bit about blue collar gaming is what we're calling it. So that'll be cool. And then the gentleman who ran the LVO stream, I'm going to have him on to talk about LVO a little bit. And I used to do shoutcasting and streaming and stuff, so I just want to kind of do a point-counterpoint type show. Talk about how that's different from my experience, how it's the same. But then, you know what, as far as I'm concerned, February can be Elf Brewery, and you can come back on a couple episodes. Okay, when you groan,
we can work on the name. Maybe.
when you groan, it's the proper pun. Like the best reaction to a pun should just be like, like you're just not sure if want.
I give you Bryce, I give you 2 hours of playing and slaying elf talk. We'll take over from Josh and Troy. Elf cast. Yeah, we'll have an elf cast. Yeah, so come back on, we'll talk about it. I want like what I did with Ossiarch Bone Reapers I'm seeing with you, and I would love, because my first like 3 rantcasts I think we're just talking about Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and we didn't even have like a lick of rules yet. So I'd love to have you on to do your own speculating.
We should have done a 15-minute cut-in of me watching that video at least on Thursday night.
So
it
what
was like just on repeat. I was on Discord with Ty, and we just finished D&D, and I was just spamming refresh, like clicking back and forth from YouTube to the LVO page, and I just kept clicking and hitting refresh on both pages, and it finally came, and I just screamed, "It's on! I'm going!" And I watched it like 15 times, and I unmuted it and said, "I'm watching it again."
Well, like,
played it again.
what I want to do is I want to do a I'm gonna like clip together a little pre-show clip. I'm gonna do the pre-show clip of you when you're not happy about Cities of Sigmar.
There you go.
When I'm like completely caught off guard, and it's just like 5 excruciating seconds of radio silence where my brain is recalculating how to like do the episode from that moment on. I'm just like, okay, because like, you know, if you're coming in high, I come in low. If you're coming in low, I gotta come in high. I was really expecting me to be the low man and you to be the high man and Christian, and I'm just like 2 guys who are just like, no, we're not having any of this. It's called the Alpha-sode, and I'm just like, we're not. I'm like, okay, recalculating, recalibrating. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna clip that together and just like put in the cricket noise, and then cut into you watching the video.
Exactly.
And then we'll talk about elves.
That sounds great.
And by the way, I'm terrible at production values, so I want you all to just imagine that's what we do in the future of RantCast when I have Brice back on in hopefully only a few short weeks to talk about some pointy elves.
Yeah,
and
I just committed to painting 2,000 points in 2 weeks, so it probably won't be till after that.
Yeah, we'll do that after that. And can I just say, I love the viral ad campaign. The pointy elves thing is just like the fucking...
Yes.
Oh my god. I just, oh my god, I just flipped my shit when they did the pointy elves. I was just like, with the southern accent, I'm like, you went through, somebody on their ad team went through all the fake accent-y, hire a voice actor to do it, like just like a Rolodex, and they're like, oh, Russian, no, like Southern Belle, we could have it, no, it's got to be like a cowboy. Yeah, like a cowboy should be the one delivering the pointy elves thing. Like, it's just, huh? I mean, like, it works. Whatever it is, it's genius. Like, just awesome. So great. So great. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to 31, RantCast 31. I'll be back in just a couple days with the RantCast Roundtable. We're going to be talking a lot about, like, lore and putting your lore into your army.